Warning. The following show features reviews from wildly unprofessional critics operating without the supervision of professionals. The thoughts and opinions held by these individuals are not to be taken seriously and do not come from a place of intellectual integrity. This show doesn't reflect the opinions of Criticless or its users. Viewer discretion is advised.
What's up? What's up? What is up, everybody? Hello, and welcome to another episode of Criticless Cast Unhinged. We're back. Well, I'm back. Chris and Matt are nowhere to be found. I'm sure that Chris is off somewhere with his mail order bride that we've yet to meet, and Matt, no one knows what Matt does. Matt's doing something. He's doing a Matt thing. But today, we are here to talk about Oblivion, the Tom Cruise, we'll call it controversial, I guess. It's not fully critically hated, but it's in that category somewhere. And this film is directed by Joseph Kosinski, who's the guy who he actually did Top Gun Maverick with. And a lot of people did not know that this movie existed or that it was attached to that director. So that is definitely something that we will be talking about and getting into, as to where one movie really succeeded and the other didn't exactly, and whether the critics are to blame or not. But now, I said that Matt and Chris weren't here, and that is true, but that does not mean that I am alone. We have a very special guest today. We have Mr. Bob. What's up, buddy?
What's up, man? It's good to be here. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely, dude. And if you guys aren't familiar with Bob, it's Bob Loves Movies, but your channel is actually Was It Good, correct?
Yeah, the reason why I came up with the name Was It Good, it was just generic enough and simple enough. I'm like, what do I call a channel, a movie channel? I'm thinking, well, was it good? You know, so it just seemed nice and easy. But then it occurred to me, nobody ever could find me when you actually search Was It Good? So anytime I'm on one of these streams, I put at Bob Loves Movies. That's always the easiest way to find me.
No, I love it. Yeah. And I mean, you are one of our like OG people as far as our Criticless users, and like one of our Crit Club paid users, all that stuff. You utilize the video stuff. And I hope that it has helped. But that was kind of one of the things that's been cool, is to watch your channel grow within Criticless and you posting your videos and all that stuff.
Yeah. You know, when I first got on the Criticless app, it was really cool because I wasn't sure what to think, but somebody that I trust had mentioned it to me. And so I went ahead and went over there and checked it out and saw some of the features that you had. And behind one of those paywalls, you had the option to attach YouTube videos. Well, at that point, I had literally just started content creation. And I mean, good Lord, I maybe even only a month or two prior to me getting on Criticless. And I got on there, started posting the videos, and you actually reached out within just a couple of days of when I had opened it up, and you were asking me, you know, how it was going on there, if there was anything you could help me with. You were just always very helpful with that, and you made this experience on this app right from the get-go a very pleasant one. And then I've got to know you and some of the others. We even had that fantasy football league together, in which I whooped all of you except one person. But
who's in the chat? Yeah, Wine Fiend is in the chat. So yeah, you can go ahead and feel free to rub it in her face. That she got beat,
it was. It's been a lot of fun on the app, and it really has helped out a lot. In fact, when I got real close to going over 1,000 subs, and that was all I needed to do to get monetized, because I had reached my viewing hours very early because I had a couple of videos just absolutely explode. And so I got my viewing hours early, but I hadn't hit that 1,000 subs. And so I had posted literally on the 1st of January on Criticless saying, hey, come check this out. We're almost at 1,000 subs. And several of your users and whatnot were like, hey, we got you, and just jumped on there. And next thing I know, it bumped it over, and I got monetized within, hours after that. So it was nice.
Dude, that's awesome. That's great.
A real shout out to that Criticless community. It's been a lot of fun being over there, and I've enjoyed it. I love reading the reviews because there's some really good ones. People get creative with some of the stuff that they write on there.
Yeah, that is one thing that I want to lean into more, and what we want to do with the channel more is just highlighting like some of the stuff that you guys are posting and writing, because I'm like, I see some of the stuff and I'm like, y'all are so freaking clever and funny. Like, I need to just quit talking. I'll just read what y'all put up and just show people, be like, look at this funny crap that somebody said. Like, which and my wife will claim that as her idea because it borderline is. But you know, we're not going to give her the credit. Can't do that. But
But no, yeah, it's really cool reading them because, yeah, like I said, they get really creative. Like when I post mine, I tend to do just like written versions of the actual video that I post with it, and it's basically a summary of the video. But I try to add a little bit more to it. But compared to some of your users, like I said, what they put in there is just awesome. I have a blast reading it, and like I said, it's a great community that you've got over there.
That's awesome. Well, yeah, as I said earlier, make sure to go follow Bob, follow his channel and sub to it and everything. And same for his account on Criticless, because he stays very active over there. And y'all have probably seen him around and about. And that is one thing I was going to bring up, is make sure also that you are in the Criticless Cast group if you're not, because that's where we announce what we're reviewing, what's going on week to week. So we have a kind of open chat, and I post the links for the videos, that sort of thing. So this group stays pretty active. So it's a good group to be in if you're in this chat and you're not in this group. But that is another thing that I need to do, is tell the chat hello, because I can be terrible about that as well. That is one of the things that Matt and Chris helped me micromanage. So doing the whole man show here on the screen, I'm used to just being at the mercy of like Beardo or Jay or somebody, so when it's not our channel as well. So anyways, but yeah, I see Jake Stanley in the chat. What's up, buddy? And I did see he was talking about naming a channel must be a big decision, and that is one thing we struggled with, because you know, it's like we couldn't name the channel like Critics Suck Balls. Like YouTube wouldn't like that, and I really wanted to do it. But
you know, that's probably actually more accurate, but
right. I don't know how the overlords would feel over at YouTube about it, but we got the usual suspects in here. We got Crisco and Wine Fiend, Jake Stanley, we got Chelsea and Caveat Ties and JJ Happenstance. What's up, guys? And I'm sure that there's plenty of other of the usual lurkers as well. We are really happy to have you guys in here, but I'm going to go ahead and remove that screen and pretend like I know what I'm doing. But so I don't know, Bob, how super familiar you are with the early part of the channel, because I know that quite often you are watching movies while we are starting to do this. So let's see here. I'm going to stop screen sharing this, and then we're going to see. So this is the part that I actually like about doing the show this way, is our very first segment is interesting because it's all about me educating our elder users, you know, and viewers of the channel, is to our elder statesmen, I guess, and the people that aren't just on top of culture. So what I want to do is keep you guys abreast of what is going on. So that brings us to culture.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah. I had to do it because I was getting slack. It was coming up in people's reviews regularly that I was just like parading around the app calling people boomers when they were just like hyping up the old things. and then I earned the nickname TikTok Kid. And I was like, oh, God, all right, fine. I'm going to lean into it, and I'm just going to pretend like I'm younger than I am, because I would rather do that than actually embrace my age. So
at least I'm not the only one that does that. So
right, exactly. But this is the segment, Bob, where things do tend to go off the rails, so I'll apologize in advance for whatever might be happening in culture. So the first thing I wanted to bring up, just to kind of kick things off, to really, and we actually have a decent amount of female viewers on the channel, and so I like to throw things out to the ladies that are in the chat and see if they kind of vibe with some things that I'm seeing on the internet. So we're going to kick things off with this video here.
My biggest flex is that I can walk out in public and fart as much as I want, because who will suspect a small little girl like me? My biggest
I just
okay.
Like, so I guess the question to the ladies in the chat is there small little girls in the chat that just could go around and fart in public and no one suspect you? Granted, when you're completely alone like this woman, I don't see how they don't know who does it.
Did you ever see that video on YouTube? it was several years ago. It was called Breaking the Barrier, and it's got this couple in there, and the guy turns around and farts, and of course the lady's all mad at him, and he's like, "Oh no, it's okay. We've been together for a while. I feel like we've broken the barrier, you know." So like
Right.
it fast forwards to like a week later, and they're sitting down watching TV, and of course she farts, and he looks at her, and she's like, "Oh well, we broke the barrier," and he's like, "No, I broke the barrier," and and through the rest of the video, she's just cutting them loose.
Oh God, yeah, no, you can't see. That's I believe in these ladies. You know, women don't fart, so I don't even know what this video is talking about. I've never even heard a girl fart in my life, so you know, not real, doesn't happen. But I couldn't believe she did it, like right in front of. She just straight rips ass right in front of those people. You can hear them talking. So,
Good Lord.
yeah, these people are wild on social media. I also like that. Apparently, she's like French or something. She says public, which is apparently a thing I've never heard of.
Yeah, I had to. If it didn't have the subtitles up, I would have thought she would have said something else. Or I would have thought she would have said pubic because of the accent.
Right, pubic.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. Now, I do know this next video. I teed this one up for you because you're a dad, correct?
Yes.
Right. So you'll appreciate this and get as much love as I did. This thing has 109 million views on freaking TikTok, which is bonkers.
All right.
Oh crap.
Can I help you?
No.
What are you doing here?
I'm really sorry. I was going to ding dong ditch you guys. I'm super sorry.
Did your dad know you're out here doing this? I will call him right now.
Yeah, he does know.
I don't know that. I've been caught! Is that your dad?
Yeah.
He goes ding dong ditching with you?
Yeah, he says it's a core childhood memory and he wants to be a part of it.
Gotta go! Are you kidding me? Oh my gosh.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's so good. The kid ran the wrong direction too. The dad goes over here. The kid goes there. He goes. It's so
that's
good.
Perfect.
I'm
That
like, this
seems
is
like-
kind of brilliant.
I think that's something I probably would have done. I didn't do it with my kids, but I could have seen
Right.
myself doing that.
Yeah, totally. Especially living in like a neighborhood like this. Like I live out in the middle of freaking nowhere, away from nobody. So we would have to just drive to someone else's neighborhood to harass them. Than something like this. And actually, one of my favorite parts in the video is right here, where he says he's been caught, and she's like, "Is that your dad?" And he's like, "Oh, where is it?" He's like, "I've been caught," and the dad's like, "Well, run, you idiot." It's freaking brilliant. And then the kid just like, he's like, "Oh, all right, dad's running. I'm out of here."
Oh,
So
God,
freaking good.
I know I can see why this has what was you said 109 million views. I can see why. That's hilarious.
It is bonkers. And 17 million likes. That's up there with some of the most I've ever seen. Like likes in the millions is nuts.
Wow.
So also this apparently just happened. A CEO was talking on camera about what they were about to do, and
It's going to be a gangbang like you have never seen. We're going to send off the rockets. We're going to enjoy our independence.
this dude's fake.
It's going to be
Of course, everyone's just
gangbang.
clapping in the back, like
Right. They're like, it's gonna be a what? Pardon me?
they're all,
Oh,
where
dude.
can I sign up for this?
Right. And I love that the Fox News channel in New York is running this. Like they're just like, no, we're gonna let everybody know what he says. Like,
It's going to be a gangbang like you have never seen. We're going to send off the rockets.
Look at that one guy turns to the side. He's like,
Right.
oh,
he's just like, dude, it's like, what does this man think a gangbang is?
what was
Freaking wild.
Do we know what he was actually trying to say?
Dude, I don't know. I think he just meant like this is going to be like a block party, or like this is going to be like a fun, exciting thing. Maybe for this guy, maybe he has some fun, exciting gangbangs. I don't know. Yeah, it's got to be something like that. I mean, freaking wild. Like,
wow.
This, like I said, has been in the last 24 hours, so it's just starting to pick up steam. But when I saw it, I was like, "There's no way that I can't show this because it's going to be." Yeah, and my wife said gangbusters, and so did X-Wing. So yeah, I think it's gangbusters as well. Okay. That's a good one. I think X-Wing. We need to clip this
It's
for
going
bro
to be
science.
a gangbang like you have never seen. We're going to send off.
We'll just play that whenever Beardo is talking about going to Bro Island. We can run that clip for him. So,
man.
yeah,
That's
friggin' wild.
I just love that. Like I said, I love that guy in the back. He's just like,
yeah. Yeah, exactly. So this next clip right here, it really hit me in the feels, and anybody who's a 2000s kid, or as a kid, like your teenage college years, especially, you're gonna relate to this. And I mean, this girl, I think she hit the nail on the head.
Ladies, if you're trying to find a boyfriend, you gotta get a tech deck. Check this out. Boys, try not to come. Ladies, if you're trying to find a boyfriend, you gotta get a tech deck. Check this out. Boys, try not to come.
So the question is, she's blunt with it. The question is, I mean, is every dude in the chat now just fully on board? They're like, yeah, this is the lady. Like, this is, if every girl just, if they want to pick up dudes, just run your little fingerboard and show me your tech deck skills. That's how I judging going into any relationship. see, X-Wing knows what's up. Yeah, so attractive. She just hit that flip, man. Just blah.
Heck yeah.
We're which I'm guessing, Bob, were tech decks a thing when you were in school at any point, or did you miss it?
Yeah, I don't remember those. I mean, so yeah, this is definitely after me. This is more my kids' generation there. Because like my kids are all older. Like I've got 5 of them. My oldest is 25, and my youngest is going to be 16. In fact, I just recently became a grandpa.
Really?
So it's so it makes me sound even older. I mean, I'm a younger grandpa, but I'm still
right.
I'm a grandpa. And
so in other words, this segment is
I don't remember
for you.
This stuff.
Right.
Wow.
And they're coming back. Tech decks are coming back around. So, and it's fine. I'm happy. This is a perfect scenario because lately it's been that every stream I'm on, like with X-Wing and Beardo or all the others, I'm always the oldest guy on the stream. So I am completely happy and embrace not being the old dude. Thanks, Bob. I really appreciate it.
You're very welcome.
And actually, I thought of X-Wing with this next clip. I hope it doesn't get we don't get popped for the sound clip, but for those that are video game fans, there's been this for one, there's all the AI stuff kind of moving along, and people are just coming up with all these interesting ideas for things that they possibly can't physically create, but they can like put in the proper prompts and whatever, create cool video stuff to like display an idea. So there's also been this kind of dark fantasy like revolution on social media where they're really like, people want to see more dark fantasy stuff. Okay. Well, they've taken this dark fantasy theme and song, which is in this clip, and then they have brought in a new type of artwork, and now all I want is a video game made exactly like this. The art style of like this high def pixel art, but in a 3D world. It's just, I kind of want it now. Like, why don't they make this into right?
Yeah, some of these backgrounds are pretty tight.
Right. Like, I kind of became obsessed with it. And looking at like these, just the weapon designs and this pixel art, this would be like, because I can only imagine, encountering like an enemy or whatever in this kind of high def pixel, like X-Wing said, 16-bit Skyrim. That's exactly what it's like. And now I just kind of want to play it. But it's almost, there's an element of it that's it's got like a high def clarity to it too. I hope that somebody in the game industry sees this and is like, okay, they're on to something here, because I would play the shit out of this. It just,
I know.
Even that staff.
That's tight.
Yeah, it looks so cool. I'm about it. I really do dig it.
That reminds me like a lot of like the old school first person games, but obviously just much better clarity.
Right, exactly. Yeah, if we could get something modern like this, even in one of the main franchises, like X-Wing was pointing out with like Zelda, or one of these big franchise games where it's like it gives you the nostalgia element by making it this pixely art but high res. Man, I would. They'd have me hook, line, and sinker. I'd pay all.
I think Graviat Ties just mentioned in the chat Wolfenstein. Yeah, kind of like that.
Right.
That's kind of what it looks like.
Exactly. Yeah, like the Wolfenstein games. I want, even if it's just that there aren't game developers that, basically just that game developers are coming in contact with people that are sharing ideas and concepts like this to spark their imagination, where it's like there are people like you and I or whoever, where it's like you have a really cool idea, but you're like, I'm not a game developer. Like I could never have the resources to make this. And, they can share something like this, make it on with AI or whatever. I can see this being an actual like useful reason for having this AI animated stuff.
Right.
Is just to share ideas and concepts. So now I know with you having older kids, being married for a while, all that, then you're definitely going to relate to this last thing. This last video here, it hit hard, and the level in which I related to it was kind of wild, and there are going to be shots fired at my wife for this one, but there's no way that she can deny it. So, but this thing had 3.2 million views here.
I'm just gonna lay down with the kids for a couple minutes. Okay. Good night. No. Pour me a glass of wine. David's still on. Okay. I was thinking we could watch a movie. Sure. Or play a board game. I'll see you tomorrow. I'm just gonna lay down for a couple minutes. Then it's party time. Hey, we had a good day. I'll just be 2 minutes. Dinner was nice. Why are you like this? I'll see you. I'll see you in 2 minutes. Hope you're ready for a rager. Hope you're ready for a rager.
Hey, come on. You can't sleep like that. You won't be able to walk tomorrow.
Okay. You got my wine? Here comes the party train. Hey, I'm just gonna lay down.
Like, what is it about, just becoming a parent and it's just all energy zapped into oblivion?
Oh God, yeah. Like, I remember this one time with my ex-wife when we had gone to this party with several friends, and it was the first time that all of us had gotten out away from the kids for a long time, and of course all the ladies were, whoa, we're gonna party up, we're gonna go here afterwards, and all of us guys were just like, no, as soon as we leave here, all of us are going home. They're gonna be passed out in the car. We're not even gonna get to our next location. This is it for the night. And every one of them, no. And sure enough, we left. All the ladies, I kid you not, were all passed out.
Right.
And
yeah.
So there's some
truth. And it seems
to
to happen to the women faster for whatever reason. Like my wife is exactly like this woman. Like we'll be like, no, we're gonna have fun and hang out tonight, and then it's just like completely unconscious. 30 minutes later, there is no party happening. There's no throwing down. There's no movie being watched. It's just and it definitely does seem to happen to her more often than it does me. So clearly, I'm not alone in this.
No, there's a lot of truth to that video.
Yeah, and the kids wear out mom. They know an easy target when they see one. So they like to they like to be brutal on the mom. So yeah, but this one does hit hard, and it does progressively get worse. But I think I'm finally in that phase when you have kids where they're like starting to get into that like middle school or at least like upper elementary, all that stuff where like it's not as exhausting. But
it's not as bad as when they start getting older. But I will tell you this: as they got older, I finally understood why Homer choked Bart for all those years. I finally understood it, because I swear there was a time where I almost leapt at my oldest daughter because she was failing a class, and nowadays they let them retake everything if they're failing something. And so it was her senior year, and I was telling her, look, you gotta get on top of this because you're about to go to college. You're not going to get another opportunity to do this stuff. And she's like, oh, no, don't worry about it. I've already retaken it. Everything's fine. No, you're missing the point. You got to pass it the first time. I don't see what the problem is. I've already retaken everything. It's just fine. And so I look at her and I'm like, look, I tell you this because I'm worried about you. And she looks at me with this bewildered look on her face. And she's like, why? And when she said that, I swear I almost leapt at her.
Right.
It's like, because I'm your father. That's why.
Right.
So yeah, as they get older, they're a lot easier, but
right.
But their mentality changes. That
right.
Yeah,
right.
You want to kill them sometimes.
Exactly. And when they're older, it's like that instinct definitely can kick in a lot easier. Just like, I'm gonna freaking throttle you. You're old enough now. I saw something recently, actually, funny enough, and apparently, because there was the whole gentle parenting phase for so long, and as we all know, shit doesn't work. So now there's apparently a huge fad of authoritarian parenting coming back with the younger millennials, and then I guess like is Gen Z starting to have kids and stuff? Is that right?
Yeah,
is that
so.
what? So yeah, it's like they're finally starting to be like, no, I need to drop the hammer. Like,
when I was punishing my kids, I got a good laugh out of it because I wasn't one that I would take them off and give them a little swat on the butt or anything like that. What I would do is, because I did some military service, for 6 years. And so I treated it like it was basic training. I had them dropping, doing push-ups and sit-ups and all of that stuff. But what I loved about it was that by the time they were done with me for a good 5 to 10 minutes, they were sore. And that lasted for like 2 or 3 days. So they remembered that. And the good thing was it left no evidence behind. So,
you're doing push-ups, you're doing sit-ups.
Yeah. So they did not want to get in trouble again with me because they knew that they were going to be sore. So
right.
That's work.
Oh yeah, for sure. I joke. Well, I say joke. I've brought it up a couple places, but my dad actually had a method that he started using for me at a point, I think around middle school. He had a giant pile of bricks in the backyard, and I would literally move bricks from one side of the yard to the other. It would take me hours. By the end of it, I was like, I'm never acting up again. That was the worst experience of my life. And then sure enough, I'd do something and he'd be like, all right, go get the bricks. They need to go back where they belong anyways. Like, bro, you suck.
but I guarantee you that stuff works because that lasts a while, and then like I said, you're sore afterwards, and so you remember that.
Right, exactly. So I don't know if you have seen, but there is actually a big thing that just has happened in the news, and so that will be the next thing we'll talk about. So guys, we're going to move over into the news. All right, now let's see if I can figure this out once more. We're going to do a full window share thing. I don't know if you've seen this yet. It just popped up. Stuff is happening.
I did see
this. Yeah. It happened this afternoon. This is great news. The article is very interesting because if you know Hollywood's perspective on this whole Gina Carano situation and just the news in general, they lean one direction more than another. But so the news here, and I guess you guys can see in the chat, the title is that this really is the way. Gina Carano pile drives Disney over Mandalorian firing with settlement and job offers. So I was actually surprised at the positivity of this title because I was like, where's the shade? Like, where are you guys like throwing dirt on Gina because of the fact that, she's not full blown in one political direction. So it happens.
Pile drives works perfect with her MMA background. So
right. Exactly. Somebody was at least clever over at Deadline, which, is rarely not the case. So what it says here is ahead of September set trial start date, Gina and Disney have put down their lightsabers over the former MMA fighter's more than a year-long discrimination lawsuit over everything that happened with The Mandalorian. Now, if everybody in the chat, I'm sure most of you guys kind of know what's going on with Gina because it's been so public. And she does tend to run in our side of the internet, actually, and has popped in chats on shows that I've been on and stuff, which is actually really cool. So she does the rounds. She watches this side of YouTube primarily because of Jay, Drunk 3PO, because they're friends. But I'm sure that he's going to be doing a video about this and probably knows even more than what is in this article. And I'm very happy for Gina and what is shaken out here, which is just essentially that Gina was what I would consider wrongfully terminated from Disney for giving what I don't even know is exactly even a political opinion. You know, it's like she just made a very kind of, it wasn't exactly innocuous, but a post during which the political climate was through the roof. You know, basically making a comparison and used a certain group of unsavory individuals and comparing things and whatnot. But the interesting thing about all this was that she was on The Mandalorian and made a post referencing Yahtzees. I don't know where YouTube sits with that word lately. You know, I'm not the one, I don't really like editing speech for YouTube, but I also don't like getting the channel popped either. So
I hear you there.
You know, it's kind of one of those things. But basically, you know, she made this post, but the crazy thing is that Pedro Pascal had done something way worse on the exact same platform.
Yeah, I mean, with Gina Carano, she just simply reposted somebody else's post, and she just said, "Oh, this is the way it starts." I mean, that's basically what it came down to. She didn't say anything about any specific group or anything like that. She was just saying this is how it starts, referring to silencing the minority and whatnot. That's essentially what that post had to do with. And you brought up Pedro Pascal, you know, God. I mean, he literally insulted half the country, comparing him to, you know, to those bad guys in the Raiders of the Lost Ark. You know, I mean,
right.
He insulted half the country. But it was okay because he was on the right side of the political spectrum as far as Disney was concerned, where Gina Carano, supposedly they love strong women, goes out, offers an opinion, and they turn around and terminated her. Why? Because it wasn't the right opinion.
Bingo, dude. That's it right there. It's all about having the right opinions with this political culture that we've had for so long, which I will also scroll down in a minute and read some of where I was talking about how this article does what we expect it will do. But basically what they say is that the joint filing today with federal court, the ex-Star Wars series star and the Bob Iger-run conglomerate asked for Elon Musk-backed legal action to be dismissed, with the latter clearly on bended knee. So they're saying that basically that Disney bent the knee. Now, this is full of a lot. Right, exactly. Well, and it's funny because I noticed, where was it? In the chat, Chelsea was pointing out, saying that she wished that they had gone to Discovery with Disney. And it's like, well, that's exactly why they settled, because Disney did not want to take this to Discovery because they would bring up the Pedro stuff and other things that other people like Rachel Zegler and other folks that have been hired by Disney have gotten to say and do whatever they want, however they want, but it was from a specific political persuasion. And that's why Disney was letting it go.
Yeah, and it wouldn't have even been a big deal that Pedro and Rachel and all of them act like, you know, morons. It's okay for them to act like that. I really don't care. Just be fair across the board.
Exactly. That's my thing. Is it's like, let them say whatever and let everyone torpedo their own career via social media however they want. You know, that's fine. And that's the thing, is that like what Gina said and did would not have affected her career that much. It would not have hurt her. It was, like I said, a relatively innocuous post. It wasn't a huge deal. Like you said, she reposted somebody else's thing with a couple of words versus what a lot of these other folks have done, including the things where Pedro was actually posting like misinformation, things that weren't even true. And yet he does not get in trouble at all, which is absolutely bonkers. And so basically it says through this kind of legal jargon, they just say hereby stipulate that this action and all claims, including all defenses assert therein, be dismantled with prejudice. So they're letting the whole thing go. It's a fairly short document. and they're talking about how a judge will have to sign off on it. Gina did do a post, and she said, "The truth shall set you free." So, once again, short but sweet.
That right there.
Right, right. And that's the thing, is she always handles things on the up and up. She is, she's just a stand-up chick, and she does things the right way, and this was handled the right way, and she didn't, even go on some crazy smear campaign or anything. She's just like, I just want justice. I just want for people to hear my perspective. And so this is phenomenal news. And honestly, this could help going forward. Now, granted, being that it didn't go to court, it's not going to potentially be able to help people as much as it could have, because if she had won in court, then it sets this level of precedent. And, there's examples to be point to this case as far as people being wrongfully terminated.
I think what it is here, Disney was reading the tea leaves. They've seen that there's been a big shift in culture as of late, and you're seeing a shift in the way the courts are ruling in a lot of things. Even when you have some liberal courts ruling in favor of the president and whatnot, you can kind of read the tea leaves, and Disney's saying, no, this isn't going to go very well for us if we continue down this road. I would 5 years ago, there's a possibility they could have won this in court.
Right.
Not now.
And that's the thing is, we've got a kangaroo court at this point for most of our courts in this country, is that a lot of them are turning up to be just complete and total shams. And a lot of cases are just getting, swept under the rug. There's the whole Diddy thing, and there's the Epstein stuff, and there's all of it where we're seeing that our courts are, a lot of them at least, are a complete and total joke, along with our judges and everything else. So there's a part of me that is also kind of glad that this didn't go to court. But for a company like Disney, as big as they are, one of the biggest companies on the planet, for them to back down, this is freaking massive. Now, this is the thing I wanted to bring up here in this article here that kind of made me laugh. And it says, on the other side, in this era of knee bending and ring kissing in the face of MAGA forces, the House of Mouse once again today adopted that trying to please red state tone it has been putting out there since Donald Trump took back the White House last November. A tone that was reinforced late in 2024 when Disney paid the then POTUS-elect $15 million to settle another lawsuit in what is still wildly seen as a shakedown capitulation. So that's the thing is, they're going to, obviously, the shade had to be thrown. They just buried the shade a little bit.
Yeah, it's further down the article.
Exactly. So, but it's funny. It's like, all right, the knee bending, ring kissing, all this stuff. It's like, guys, come on, don't be dramatic. There's not that much of this happening, at least not yet. And this whole thing, I'm curious to see going forward if other companies are going to have to start reckoning with all of the things that have been happening in these businesses, because there's been a lot of very illegal things happening, even just with hiring practices, whether it's firing practices, all of these things where it connects to a lot of these DEI things, or even just with political correctness and people getting fired for things that doesn't balance on a set of scales. And so I hope that this gives people hope, I guess is the best way to put it.
I think it will, because, a lot of us in our sphere here on this side of the internet, we were pulling for Gina on this one, and we wanted to see this come up positive. And this was good news. When I read this, you said this dropped just recently. I saw this like about an hour ago, and I just thought this was awesome. The fact that they settled out, because it was very clear that they were in the wrong on this one.
Yep. No, I completely agree. And, if you keep reading through this article, it's, they're still obviously taking a stance, and they're trying to point to some of the things with, Gina trying to put it into question, whatever. And it's like anybody who sees this and sees it for anything other than what it obviously is, which is a one-sided situation, is just kind of lost the plot at this point. Because like you said, it's like, for me, it's not about like one side or the other. It's just about being fair in this stuff and doing the right thing. And if it was someone on the left and they had said something stupid, I'd be like, hey, let them say all this stuff. It's clear that people like Rachel Zegler, it has done damage to her career.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm all here for letting them say whatever they want, because first off, we get some good stuff out of this. This is good content for all of us.
Right.
Yeah. Just let them say what they want. Because at the end of the day, they got a right to say what they want. Now they have to understand that when they say certain things, there's going to be backlash, but I don't think anybody should ever lose their job over offering an opinion.
No.
Granted, like I said, public opinion may be different, but nobody should ever lose an actual job over it.
No, if they're not like, and that's the thing is they try to play it off like she was hurting the company. And I'm like, if you had some sort of strict set of rules going on with all of your Disney employees that they couldn't speak about anything political and she's the only one that ever did, we might be having a different conversation here. But
yeah, and you mentioned like they are acting like she was hurting the company. We're talking about one of the most popular characters on the flagship show for Disney Plus, and you're gonna act like she was hurting the company? No, she wasn't hurting anything.
No, and I'd be willing to bet an absorbent amount of money that it hurt that show a lot more firing her than it did, if they had just kept her on. So, yeah,
I agree to that, because you look at, season 3 sucked. So that's first off, but they had planned on using her. What was it for that? Rangers of the Republic or something like that.
Yeah.
She was going to be the lead in that. And then they had to completely scrap that. Well, along with everything else they've scrapped, but they had to scrap that and kind of pivot somewhere else. And I don't think they've had another female character that's had that type of popularity pop up in live action. Maybe Ahsoka, but even her, I don't think so. Yeah.
No. Everybody loved her character, and it took off. And she did a superb job. Now, the question of the day here is Gina, do we think that there's any chance that they're going to bring her back on board?
I don't know. Do I think Gina would probably do it? I think she would if they offered her the right amount of money. The reason I think that is because I do think she's been pretty professional about all of this. And she's always talked about that she enjoyed her co-stars and being with them and the crew and everything. So I could see her wanting to come back and be with a lot of them again. But then again, it would just
be so awkward.
Yeah, I think that's where it would be hard.
Yeah, and these people that have done and said all the freaking horrendous shit that they have, like, the ones who wanted this to happen to her, that's got to be hard. Now, that's the thing is, like, we've got this Mandalorian movie coming out. Like, maybe if that does well, I could see Favreau letting her back in, because from some of the accounts and stuff, it sounded like he wasn't necessarily the one pushing this.
That's what I understood, too.
So, and he seems like an all right dude. I don't know where he sits with all this now. And that's the thing is that kind of bothered me in this article is, they're like, oh, she's openly conservative, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, well, no, that's part of the problem with all of this as well, is that as far as I know, she has not been like, oh, I'm some big conservative, whatever. Like, it's just that she had some ideas that are considered conservative. And that's what sucks about this climate is it's like, you could be a libertarian, you could be a whatever. And anytime you even give an opinion that is remotely right, they're like, conservative, canceled, you're a piece of shit. And you're just like, what?
Well, look at what happened to J.K. Rowling. I mean, J.K. Rowling is as far left as they come, except on one issue. And that one issue, everybody's ready to cancel her. Or I shouldn't say everybody. Everybody in that sphere that is extreme are ready to cancel her. It makes absolutely no sense, because she would agree with them on 99% of their beliefs except one. And because of that, she's a terrible person.
Right. That's just so wild. And it's just like in this article where they're out here calling her openly conservative, and like in the articles about J.K. Rowling where they say she's, they label her with every name in the book. And it's just like, guys, you are putting your own opinions and labels on this person that don't even apply. Like, this is not journalism at this point. This is just an op-ed where the person who's writing it is just spewing their personal grievances and garbage. And it really pisses me off, because we've gotten so far away from actual journalism and reporting, and it's what plays a role in kind of skewing people's opinions about a lot of these issues that are happening in culture, is because a lot of the news they're getting is just a freaking op-ed piece.
It's funny that you say that, because not long ago I saw this old TED Talk with Eric Bischoff, who used to be the head of WCW. And I mean, this guy, he's a was the head of a wrestling company, but he came and talked out, and he equated modern day journalism with professional wrestling. And the reason why he did that was, he said, because if you watch modern day journalism, he says their job isn't to report the news. It's to make you feel something. That's why they have all these opinion shows. They don't actually report the news anymore. And that's what a lot of these articles do. They're just trying to get a rise out of you and elicit a certain type of feeling from you. And if they can do that, then they've won, and they don't have to report the news. They can just give you their opinion and word it a certain way and hope to get you all riled up.
Exactly. It's freaking wild. And that's, I actually went to school and did journalism here in Charlotte way back in the day, and I actually really loved it. And before I dropped out of college, but in my senior year, as it goes, long story. But anyways, yeah. And it's like sitting back and watching, everything kind of went off the rails after I got out of school. And part of me was just like, part of me was glad I didn't even bother, because I'm just like, this industry is so rotten and corrupt. It's just become this propaganda mess that is just, it's not real journalism. It doesn't abide by any of the rules that I was taught in school. They just pump out whatever they want, and their goal is to sway what they consider to be the idiot masses into believing whatever they want them to believe. And even articles on issues like this that shouldn't even be nearly that trivial, they are still doing it. So it's
sad, because I would kill just to have a good old fashioned news channel that just reported the news. Tell me what's going on. Let me make my own opinion on it. But no, it's every single one of these shows that they have on the news channels. They're all opinion pieces. They get about 3 or 4 different talking heads on there, and that's their whole point, is just to argue about the news, get their own opinions out there, and not actually report what's going on. And
right.
And like I said, it's just to get a feeling out of you.
Yep, it is. And I guess oh God, yeah, I could go for days on our current journalistic situation. It's an absolute mess. I hope it gets better, but I don't see it happening in the near future. But I freaking props to Gina. I think this is great news. I mean, like some of us were talking about, it's one of those things where it kind of wanted to see it go to court just to see Disney really get roasted. I'm curious to see if they are paying her out anything. If this is a settled out of court scenario, if she's making any money back for the damages, or what's going to happen there. Because obviously she was seeking some money for what they've cost her, essentially. And I mean, she got completely exiled from Hollywood. So
absolutely, I think she should get some punitive damages, because any possibility of her having a Hollywood career after that just went by the wayside. And that would be the case going forward with a lot of roles that she might get in mainstream Hollywood, because unfortunately they're not going to forget on their side. They're going to hold that against her.
Yeah, unless there are people, we've got people like Sylvester Stallone and even Taylor Sheridan, these people who aren't necessarily like blatant open conservatives, but they're at least not far left, and they're willing to work with people. And they're, obviously like Stallone is actually working directly with Trump, I think, with some of this Hollywood stuff. But some of these people, and obviously he's working with Taylor Sheridan as well, who I could see her potentially getting some roles with and stuff as things kind of go along. So, and I like Jake Stanley put in the chat, we should all watch Haywire. And that was one of her films that she did. And funny enough, we're still on Monday Hangover. I think Jay is trying to butter her up into coming on Monday Hangover and reviewing that with us on the show. I don't know if
that would be cool.
Yeah, I think she's a little, actually, believe it or not, being an actress, I think she's a little camera shy for these type of things. So she doesn't do a ton of that. But we will see if that happens. That would be amazing. I would love to be on a show that especially where she reviews her own movie. That would be pretty funny. So yeah, we will see if that happens. But yeah, one more thing I wanted to touch on really quick, which I'm sure you heard about, but just happened yesterday, is that Hulu is gone. Or going.
We actually talked about this on my secondary channel, Dad's Turn to Chalk. You've been on that show, Blaine. We actually discussed this, but it's like it was a whole series of things that the mouse was involved in. They, from the Hulu app being phased out to them picking up the streaming rights to the WWE, to having a partnership with NFL Network, to them launching the ESPN app. I mean, and of course, Disney's got their hands in all of this because they own all of this stuff. I mean, it was just everything. Like one news story right after the other yesterday.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing with this Hulu is it was part of the Fox merger. They got Hulu through Fox when they bought up all of that. And this just seems so stupid to me. Honestly, if you were to ask me, who is the streaming brand that is reliable and trustworthy and a good platform to use, I would say Hulu, not Disney Plus.
Yeah, so it would make more sense. It would make more sense to phase Disney Plus into Hulu and just run under the Hulu banner instead of the other way around, because when it comes to Disney Plus's streaming, they've dropped so many gems on us, and especially their most recent one, Ironheart. I really loved that one. So.
Yeah, as they're calling it, Iron Chart. I couldn't do it after enduring The Acolyte and Echo. Those two, I hit the point where I was like, I really can't watch anything else like this ever again.
You know what? I'll be honest, man. I watched 2 episodes of Ironheart, and I thought that the Acolyte looked like Citizen Kane compared to the first 2 episodes of Ironheart. That's one of the worst things I've ever seen in my life, and I didn't even watch the rest of it. I could not get through it, and I was just like, "This is awful." I actually think I liked the Acolyte better. Now, when that's like saying that, a turd on a plate is better than a turd in a glass. One way or another, it's still a turd. But I mean, I guess there are levels to this here. So
right. This is just the more appealing turd. Yeah. Dude, that's like with freaking Echo. Like, I even think Echo was worse than the Acolyte. So it's like, to compare it to that, I'm just, and the fact that Marvel has managed to find talent that is less talented than Leslie Headland. I have so much trouble not calling her lesbian headlamp. It's baffling, because that is one of the most talentless things that I've ever seen when it comes to the Acolyte. And to find that Marvel has managed to one up Lucasfilm and do things worse is mind blowing.
Yeah, it was awful. I mean, it was terrible. So, I completely agree with what you're saying. It would make more sense to do this under the Hulu banner than Disney Plus, because, Disney Plus has been a stinker since they released it, except for The Mandalorian. Most of the stuff they've released on there have been stinkers.
Right. And I mean, there's a few things like with the Marvel shows that I haven't hated, where it was like, I dug some of Loki. There was some of Moon Knight that I really liked, and some of it that I hated. Like, there's, Hawkeye was solid.
I liked Hawkeye.
Right. Like, there was some things that were okay, but it's just, I think all in all, and especially with the Star Wars stuff, is that there's been so much damage to the Disney brand that without completely cleaning house and making it completely and totally public that they do so, I don't know how you save the Disney brand in any decent amount of time. And now you're possibly hurting, even more so, one of your functional brands by rolling it into this damaged one. Which
I think for Disney in the long run, I think financially it will benefit them, but they're going to have a major shift in the type of programming and whatnot that they're doing on Disney Plus, and really start promoting a lot of these shows that were on Hulu. Because when we're talking original programming, Hulu is far and above, far and above Disney Plus. So this is what you should be promoting if you're going to promote the phase over to Disney Plus. Is you need to promote those shows, saying these are now on Disney Plus. These are our flagship shows. That should be what you're pushing.
Right. And the problem with that is that then they run into scenarios like they did just a couple months ago, where, for example, there was a show coming out on Hulu called Dying for Sex. and it was on the Disney Plus homepage. And people are like, why is Dying for Sex on the cover page of Disney Plus that my kids regularly use? I don't associate this type of content with this brand, the House of Mouse, known for family programming.
Didn't they say they were going to be doing, like, with this phase over, that they were going to be offering the Hulu content by itself, like in like a standalone that you could purchase, or in the Disney Plus portion you could purchase on its own?
Right. That's what it says here, is that according to the Disney rep, customers will still be able to buy a standalone Hulu subscription as well as a standalone Disney Plus subscription, but yet they're the same thing. Like, I don't so like you're technically still using the Disney Plus app, but you only have access to the Hulu stuff. Like, this sounds so stupid. Just then leave the app separate.
Yeah, there's some weird stuff with this. Now, I like I said, I think from a financial standpoint, Disney's going to dominate some of the streaming for a while. Maybe not necessarily where the Hulu side is going, or Hulu and Disney Plus is going to overtake Netflix. That ain't going to happen. But when you throw in the ESPN app and what they're kind of doing with that, they're going to have a good chunk of the streaming viewership and whatnot, especially on the sports side. So I think financially, a lot of these moves that they made is going to benefit them in the long run. But we'll see on this particular side. I'm not sure about this.
It's really going to depend on how they build this out. And to a degree, I understand it as someone who owns like an app as a platform. Consolidating would make sense, where you don't have, these multiple apps running and having to keep the development up on the Hulu side and keep the development up, for ESPN and all these things, where it's like you have one consolidated app that then kind of spiderwebs out. So it's like, let's say you open Disney Plus, and then what it does is you get a Disney Plus logo, but then really you get a Disney Plus, an ESPN, a Hulu, whatever logo. You pick that, and then you drill down from there. Like, that does kind of make sense. Right. And it's like, with that, at least you're pulling away the not having to maintain and develop and keep up with this separate app. As far as even the apps on Roku, all the mobile devices, all that stuff. And I'm wondering if that's really the concept behind this, is that it is cutting down on a lot of like development costs and just like essentially rolling all of this into one kind of homogenous blob. That component makes sense to me.
Where I could see that phasing the Hulu side in, where it could be very beneficial, is it did say in the article, I think it was in this one, where sometime next year they're going to be phasing the live TV, the Hulu live TV, into Disney Plus at that point. So for people who are trying to cord cut from cable and Dish Network and DirecTV and all of that, having that to where you can get all the linear networks, you'll have all of the ESPN networks, you'll have, if you're a wrestling fan, you'll have the WWE, you'll get the Hulu programming, you'll get the Disney Plus programming. So I could see where that would be really beneficial when they phase that portion into the Disney Plus side, especially, like I said, if you're trying to cord cut. I think that would that's really going to help them out.
Right. Yeah, it definitely could. I am super curious to see when the rubber hits the road. This was a semi-dense article. There's a bit to it, but it's like, they are talking about, which is interesting. Disney's also announced that they will no longer report streaming subscriber numbers for these. So that is convenient and an interesting.
Oh yeah, the article. It's like, oh well, Netflix does it that way, so we're not going to do it. Yeah, but Netflix doesn't need to report their numbers for us to know that they're ripping it up. I mean, they're right. That's the only real streaming service that I think of that is like a powerhouse when it comes to streaming. You look at everybody else; they're having to merge, they're having to, rebrand and do all this stuff because they're just not bringing in the subscriber counts and they're not bringing in the revenue that they thought they were going to. Where Netflix, on the other hand, they don't need to report any of that stuff because they're making money.
Oh yeah, I mean clearly. And it does sound like a lot of these companies these streaming companies are starting to kind of hit this cap. So I I'm interested to see as far as, because at some point with stockholders, all that stuff, they've got to talk about growth or if it's happening or not and all of that. So I guess that's only the time that we'll really find out anything is when there's any kind of stock share stuff happening or whatever as to what's happening with this component of the company. Yeah, I'm interested to see, but I think this is a big piece of news and we will see how it shakes out and plays out in their favor. But it does seem like a semi-controversial move to some degree. So
yeah,
I'm curious
agree. Like it should be done under the Hulu banner. At the end of the day, it should.
Right. It really seems like the more trusted brand of the two, at least currently. So, but I did have obviously these two news pieces were pretty big. So I knew that would take a little bit of time. Normally what we do is we pivot over into kind of things that are streaming and what's kind of being talked about within Criticless, what people are reviewing and stuff. We could pop into that for like 5 minutes or so just to kind of, if you've got something you want to talk about. I don't know if you do. We didn't kind of talk about it before, but.
No, I was, as far as anything new that I'm watching, I just started watching Wednesday season 2.
Is it out? I didn't know that it actually
it released yesterday, and I'm a little over halfway through the second episode. So far, it seems okay. Like, I didn't think the first season was anything spectacular, but I thought it was fun. I thought it was entertaining. And what I like so far, anyway, is that the rest of the Addams family seem to have a bigger role in this season. So it's nice getting to see those other actors in those roles with this. Also, I've been watching Dexter Resurrection, and so far I'm enjoying that more than I did New Blood.
Okay.
And so far it seems so far I think it's pretty good. Especially the fourth episode, I was really digging that one. So.
And we do have 3 reviews for this. One person really didn't like it. We got John Parks and Micah who are liking it a lot. So, and it looks like there's going to be 10 episodes of Dexter Resurrection.
Yes.
And you have how many are we at now?
Yeah, they've already released 5. I was really digging episode 4, and they just released the 5th, or they're just about to release episode 6, I believe. Because I think they released the first 2 together, if I remember correctly. So, yeah. So far it's been pretty good. Like, I binged watched Dexter. I didn't watch it when it first came out, but several people had been telling me how good it was, and so I finally broke down and watched it. And I literally watched it all, the entire 8 seasons and New Blood and the prequel in like a 2.5 month period. Might have even done a little quicker, but it was literally like that, where I was watching like 2 episodes a night, just plowing through that until I was done with it. And I really enjoyed it. Obviously the latter seasons are not as good as the others.
Right.
I will say this, if I had watched it live and I had seen the way New Blood ended live, I would have been pissed like everyone else. I understand why people were mad. Now, it didn't bother me because I already knew we were getting Dexter Resurrection at that point. So I was like, okay, we're going to get more Dexter at this point. So it didn't bother me as much. Thing is,
we never finished this. Me and my wife started watching it. We watched the original as it was out or coming out. So it was kind of that thing. But New Blood, we fell behind. And it looks like people are definitely split on this.
And I understand those because the way that it ends pretty rough. Now, I don't think it's as bad as far as a series goes as some of those ratings are. But when you factor in that ending, and especially when we didn't know we were getting new Dexter at that time, or everyone didn't know, that's why they were real mad at it. Where Resurrection, I already knew it was coming. So, it didn't bother me as much, the ending. Also, I thought the prequel was pretty good. The prequel actually feels more like the original show than
I've heard very good things about Original Sin.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I liked it. The casting
We're planning on watching this. That's what I heard. We're planning on watching this too.
Yeah, if you liked the original Dexter, I think you'll like Original Sin because it is tonally, it's very much like the original show.
Okay, that's good to know. Which, and I guess humble brag here, I'll pull a little bit of drunk 3PO. We are actually personal friends with Jennifer Carpenter, who plays Deb.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, we'd know
Yeah,
her.
I think I
and
remember
so
you mentioning that to me.
yeah, it's kind of one of those things where we like to keep up, and that was why we felt bad about falling off of New Blood, because she was on it and came back for it. And she was actually recently on a Taylor Sheridan show. I'm curious. He likes to reuse people, so I'm curious to see. She was on that 1923, or is that it? 1923. But anyways, and I'm curious to see if he uses her in some of his other shows now that he's kind of connected with her. But anyways, yeah, I do want to go back. I loved this. Michael C. Hall is great, as people are also saying in the chat. And he did carry this show even when it was not at its peak. So I'm excited to check out the new stuff in the prequel series and all that, because I always loved Dexter. So,
but I will say this: I think that when you look at those latter seasons, they definitely are not at their peak. But that show, having seasons that weren't at its peak, are still better than some other shows out there. So I'll still take those. I'll take those rough seasons any day over The Acolyte or some of these other shows out there, you know? Yeah. Like you said, it wasn't at its peak, but I still think they were enjoyable.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. And I wasn't one of those, and neither was my wife, where when we were watching that original series, we weren't like one of these people who are like, oh, it's gotten terrible, whatever. We're like, this is still fun. It might not be as good as the other stuff, but we're enjoying it. And this is still kind of what it's always been to some degree. So,
like the way Game of Thrones fell off at the end is way worse than, say, the way Dexter fell off. I mean, the way Dexter fell off, there was still a lot of stuff in there that was very enjoyable. That last season of Game of Thrones was just like a joke. So
and that was just so rushed. And I'm also one of those with that last season where I didn't hate it, but I get why people have problems. Absolutely, I was just kind of like, it is what it is. This show's been on forever, and it's ballooned almost out of their control, and they've got a situation where the writer of the books also is not keeping up with the show, and they're having to do things on their own. And I'm just like, they are kind of put in a crappy situation. So, I got it, but at the same time, I also get why people don't dig it.
Well, it killed their Star Wars movie, that's for sure.
Thank God. I'm glad that did not happen. Because and what it sounded like, they were creating another show that also sounded terrible, and I'm glad that didn't happen either. But I have started. Have you seen Twisted Metal? Are you familiar?
No,
with
I haven't, but I've heard some good things about it.
Yeah. So season 3 is back. It says that there's 22 episodes, but it's basically that there's 11 episodes in each season. They're only like 3 or 4 episodes into this current season. We talked about it for a minute last episode. As you see, we've got pretty good reviews in here for it.
So they're into season 3 already.
Season 2, sorry.
Season 2. Okay, so they're into season 2.
Yes, we are in season 2, and people are fairly high on this show. It is sitting at a 79, so 1 point away from most excellent. I still am currently sitting with my 80%. I might be in the rad territory. We'll see. But like, this show knows what it is. It is like R-rated, adult, gory, kind of semi-edgy, violent, over-the-top, kind of a Death Race-esque type of a thing. Anthony Mackie does a decent job. Same for Stephanie. I can't remember what her last name is, where she's kind of the secondary character, love interest, whatever. But this show, season 2, is they're cranking things up. It is more violent. It is more over the top. It is leaning, actually bringing in some fantasy elements, which I think is really cool, or like supernatural things. The first season was more grounded. The first season is more like Death Race. If you played the Twisted Metal games, season 2 is becoming like the Twisted Metal games. So it is like a
I'll check this out, because like I said, I've heard a lot of great things about this. You're not the only one who said that this is really good, so I need to check this out.
It's solid. It's worth seeing if you like kind of your 30-minute action comedy, hyper violent stuff. It's very much that, and there's some. So the episodes only run
like 30 minutes at a time.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh,
yep. So it's an easy watch. Yeah, I love a good 30-minute show, dude. They're the best. Granted, you end up binging like multiple episodes of them quite often, but it's easy to pop in and out, so it's kind of what I prefer. Yeah, so I would say check out Twisted Metal if you're into this stuff, especially if you like season 1. It's more of the same. So except for I think probably going to be better. So I would say definitely for folks to check it out.
Yeah, I'll check it out.
But what do you say we talk about some Oblivion, dude?
Let's do it.
Okay, sweet. Well, I've got some bumpers that we run. Now, on these shows where we aren't talking about brand new movies, we go straight into spoilers. But we have a spoiler-free and a spoiler bumper. We run both because I like the spoiler-free bumper. So,
Okay.
all right.
Yeah,
there
you
we
can
go.
run that spoiler-free bumper again. That was pretty
Exactly,
good. So-
right? Right? You get those retro vibes in there. So
Yeah.
everybody, we are going to be talking about Oblivion. I mentioned earlier, this is the 2013 film Oblivion, and if you were to search it on Criticless, you might find a couple other Oblivions, but this is the primary Oblivion. This is directed by Joseph Kosinski. It stars Tom Cruise, Olga Kurylenko, and there's a lot of complicated names in these ladies that are in this movie, actually. So I'm not even going to mouthful try and say them. But the other spoiler name here, I think, actually to announce, really, as far as cast, is Morgan Freeman. This was a thing where he was in this movie, and I remember even during the marketing, it was not cool that they announced that Morgan Freeman was in this, but I get why they did for marketing reasons, because this film has an extremely slim cast. There's only really about 8 speaking roles in this movie, and otherwise there's some background characters, but it's a very slim cast, and this is an interesting sci-fi approach. Now, I talking about Joseph Kosinski, and I remember earlier in the week when I posted this in Criticless Cast and made a point to mention that this was also the guy that did Top Gun Maverick. People either didn't know or were like, holy crap, I forgot that was this guy. So Joseph Kosinski has kind of made a name for himself at this point. He's not done a ton of films, but they've all been good or great. And that's the thing here. And he has done one of my all-time favorite films, which is Tron Legacy. Now, this guy has become known for a very specific style, doing these big-budget, blockbuster Hollywood-type films. And he's, like I said, he's really making a name for himself. And there's only really one film in here as far as a primary film that isn't like a commercial or something he's done that most people don't know about, which is Spiderhead. I'm guessing, have you seen this, Bob?
No, I haven't seen this one.
So I'll say I actually like Spiderhead a lot, and this also stars Miles Teller, who was in Top Gun Maverick, and Chris Hemsworth actually as well. This was a Netflix exclusive film that he did, and I think it came out during 2022, and it just flew under a lot of people's radars because Netflix does what Netflix does, which is
I'm going to go see this now just simply because you told me that he's directing this. And that it's got Chris Hemsworth and Miles Teller. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna go see this now.
Right, exactly. And that's kind of one of those things where, now I will say that this actually stands out as far as if you look at this main cluster of films here by him. He recently did F1. We got Top Gun Maverick, Twisters, Tron Legacy, Oblivion, and Only the Brave. Spiderhead is kind of his like smallest budget, tightest film that he's ever done. But I love Spiderhead. I know that other people were a little more conflicted about it. I'm actually curious. I'm curious so we've got 2 decents. Now, granted, Ninja Waiter is one of our most critical reviewers in Criticless, hands down. And Tonight Japonder is how I always say his name. I have no idea how you pronounce this, but he tends to be on the more critical end as well. I'd need to see it again, but if you asked me when I saw it what my review would be, I'd give it a most excellent. I could see you probably being somewhere in the rad to low most excellent for it.
Looking at this, looking at this these credits here, I didn't realize he directed Only the Brave.
Right?
I thought that was a pretty good movie.
Yeah, and it's a little different too. So he's clearly mixing up the vibe in the types of films that he's doing. But now, personally, and with Twisters, I don't think he directed Twisters.
No, I don't think so.
He was just attached. So it was like a producer or something. The main ones that he directed was F1, Top Gun Maverick. Now, Tron Legacy is my favorite of his films. Still, I adore this movie. I found as time goes on, it seems to be a little more controversial than I realized it was. Did you like that one?
You know what? I saw it once when it first came out.
Okay.
I need to do a rewatch of it before Tron Ares comes out. I need to do a rewatch of both of the first films. It's just been so long since I've seen them. I remember liking it when I first saw it, and I thought it was cool that Jeff Bridges was back. But yeah, I don't really remember a ton about it. So I do need to do
Okay.
a rewatch of it. I remember liking it. I just like I couldn't tell you all about it right now just because it's been so long.
Right. It is a stunning movie. It is a gorgeous movie to look at.
Yeah,
I give it a
visually
98%.
it is, but Kaczynski's got a flair for the visual. He really knows how to do this. I mean, you watch Top Gun Maverick, you watch Oblivion, which we're going to talk about, Tron Legacy, F1. I mean, he's got a knack for the visual in these movies.
He does.
Like when I watched F1, I felt like I was in the damn driver's seat of this thing. I mean, wow.
Yeah, and that's kind of my thing is like if there's one word that I could think of to like describe his style, it's just crisp. Like everything about it is crisp. It seemed they all feel so meticulously cared for, from the score to the cinematography to just the structure of the film. It's all very tight. And it's just like he has a very specific style that is to a degree recognizable, but at the same time, he works in these very different styles of movies, where it's like Oblivion and Tron Legacy are probably the two closest. And I honestly think that that's where I prefer him is in this like sci-fi realm. But I know that he's starting to make a name for himself, even with these other types of films like Only the Brave and Maverick and F1, where they're very different from those.
Oh yeah, he and Tom Cruise saved the movie theaters, there for a while. So.
Right. Seriously, yeah. He's single-handedly doing a lot for cinema in general, really, at this point, especially now with F1 being the success that it is, and this guy's got a very big career ahead of him. And so that's another reason why I wanted to do this is I feel like this is an unsung movie of his that hasn't gotten nearly the love that it deserves, because this kind of goes in the critic hated realm where this is at a 50-something% on Rotten Tomatoes. It didn't do great in the box office. This was when Tom Cruise was in the process of shaking some of the stank off of him of being just kind of crazy. After he went through that phase where he was jumping on a couch and on Oprah and all that stuff, but I
don't think I don't think it helped that The Edge of Tomorrow came out the year after this, and that's the one that people really remember. That one in Minority Report when it comes to his sci-fi films, they don't really remember Oblivion.
Right, exactly. Yeah, no, I completely agree, and he has some great sci-fi films, honestly, But Edge of Tomorrow, honestly, dude, this movie, I freaking adore it. As far as Tom Cruise sci-fis go, this ranks way up there. I need to review it. This is probably like a freaking 95% or something for me. It's so good. But with this one, so we haven't really talked about kind of the plot of this, but essentially it follows Jack Harper, which is Tom Cruise, and he's this essentially a pilot who repairs drones in an apocalyptic Earth. But it's not an apocalyptic like Walking Dead or something. It's like way after the fact. Earth is absolutely toast and is borderline not even really on the verge of coming back yet, which is an interesting setting. And then essentially what the plot here is that there are these scavs, which are kind of shrouded in mystery and make a bit of the early portion of this movie confusing. I don't know how you feel about that, but it's like, unless you know the plot, you're like, why are they not focusing on these aliens?
Yeah, when I saw it the first time, I remember thinking, okay, what the heck is going on here? Like through the first 30, 40 minutes of it, where I was just kind of like, what is this all about? What's going on? And even during this rewatch, because I rewatched it for this, and I was kind of like, okay, I remember thinking this as I was watching this, because obviously now that I've seen it, rewatching it, I like the way the events unfold. But yeah, when you're initially watching it, you're like, yeah, they don't focus on the aliens or anything like that. The whole focus is just on they're repairing these drones because they're harvesting these resources, which are going to go to the humans that are on Titan. At least that's what the storyline is telling you.
Right, exactly. And that's the thing is, it's like, I feel like if you were to not give this movie a chance and if you were to bail on it early, you'd be like, oh, it just, the plot, it seems kind of aimless and like they're not really explaining things and they're talking about these aliens, but they're not focusing on them. They're just kind of attacking them and whatever. And there is that first hour where this is kind of a different film because they want to send your brain in a certain direction.
Right.
And that's where I get into the whole thing about them marketing Morgan Freeman, because as far as you know, and Morgan Freeman and which I guess, guys, we're in spoilers, but so Morgan Freeman turns out to be a scav, which is what we think is an alien, and is actually not an alien. And they showed him in the scav gear in the trailers for this film. So that kind of sucks. I almost wish that they had filmed some extra stuff where they could present him in a different kind of way, or make people think, like, even if it was just his face or something, to where you couldn't really tell. Like, he could be on a spaceship, or he could be in some other type of environment versus being a scab. So now, did you see this in theaters when it first came out?
Or? I saw this probably about a year or two after it came out, because I think I saw this after I saw The Edge of Tomorrow. And I think I saw this because I had liked The Edge of Tomorrow and went back and watched it just here at home. And I wish I would have seen this in theaters, because just from a visual perspective, I mean, this looks amazing. The ship designs, the landscape, the scene where, for example, where Tom Cruise is going along on the bike, and you see all the ships and everything there in the background. It's just got this massive scale that it's all taking place on. And this would have looked awesome in the theaters. I hate that I missed that in the theaters.
Yes, me too. I'm freaking pissed about it. And this is what brings me to, some of my critic hate is, I think back when this came out, 2013, it's before we had lost all trust and hope and faith in things like Rotten Tomatoes, and we would still use them from time to time. And it was like, I just saw it and I'm like, oh man, this is doing kind of crappy. Like, Tom Cruise is kind of how he is. Like, this is probably not that great. I didn't know anything about Kaczynski at the time. Like, it was kind of one of those, I guess I'll miss it. And then actually my buddy Kyle Gazak, I'm curious if he has written a review. He's been on the show, so some of the guys in the chat might be familiar with him. But he's Kyle off script and Criticless. But he had hyped it up to me, and one day he was like, bro, I'm coming to your house. I'm bringing this movie. We're going to sit down, and you're going to watch it, and it's going to blow your freaking mind. And I was just like, all right, man, I believe you. And we watched it, and I was like, holy shit. I'm ashamed that I did not see this in the theaters. I feel really bad for not giving it my money.
Yeah, I like I said, I wish I would have seen it in theaters. I don't know if you can go back to it, that shot where the moon is all torn, exploded in the background. Dude. That looks awesome when you see it in the movie. Like the picture here doesn't do it any justice. Like, you got Tom Cruise out there, and you see the moon just like all exploded there in the background, and all torn up because
station above the skies where he lives also.
Yeah, it looks awesome. I mean, just the visuals are amazing on this. And of course, they explain in the movie that the aliens had destroyed the moon because they wanted to mess up the all of the natural processes of the earth and everything.
Right.
And so it just looks so cool. Like,
it's
look at
stunning. That. Yeah, I mean, that right there. Like, and the way that it's executed, like you said, just the visuals as a whole, the way this movie is shot, it is just, like I said earlier, crisp. This movie is freaking like crisp and clean, and it just, they set out to blow your mind with the imagery. And you can tell even by the photos kind of showcased here, and it being some of the marketing material and whatever, where you're just like, you see it and you're like, dude, that looks cool. Like, this looks so cool. And it really is just a showcase in, well, many things, one of which being how far the industry has fallen in visuals.
I don't know who it was that mentioned it, but I remember reading this on one of the reviews on Criticless.
Yeah.
And they were talking about how good this movie looked.
Right.
And compared to what's come out this year alone, you look at even just recently Fantastic Four, which I actually think looks pretty decent compared to a lot of the other stuff Marvel has brought out. This is 10 times better than what we're getting released now.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm curious to see if some of these critics and stuff in hindsight would judge this movie differently now that, we've witnessed what we've witnessed from Hollywood over the past 10 years. But I mean, that's the thing. It's like, I mean, personal opinion here, just visuals, and we haven't even gotten to the score yet.
I was just about to mention that because you mentioned earlier that that Kaczynski is very meticulous and takes a lot of care with this. The score in this movie enhances the visuals to a T.
Yes,
it's not really a visually stunning scene, but the scene where he's got what's the name of his wife? Not the fake wife, the real wife.
Yes, that's
Victoria, Julia. Okay, so when he's putting her in the back into the tube, supposedly to take her up to the ship, the music on that particular scene, I was sitting there listening to it, and I was like, oh my God, this score is amazing.
Yeah, well, so the score is done by the band M83. He brought them in to do the score. Very similarly. That. Yeah. So this whole score is done by M83 outside of the songs because this song actually has some good music in it as well.
Yes.
But he's clearly a music fan. Like, there's no way this dude's not. But as far as the score, you could just sit and listen to it on your own. You could chill out and just listen to it because it's that good. But similarly, he did the same thing with Tron Legacy, and he brought in Daft Punk. And Daft Punk did the entire score for Tron Legacy. So, and interestingly enough, Disney and whoever is directing the new Tron movie they are leaning into that, and they have got 9 Inch Nails doing the score for the new Tron movie. So
yeah, my son, he's really my 18-year-old. He's really gotten into music and whatnot. He's real big into racing and whatnot. So we went to see F1, and he thought the score was just fantastic for F1. But he mentioned to me when we saw a trailer for Tron Ares, he's like, Dad, they got 9 Inch Nails doing the music to this thing. It's gonna be great.
Right, and that's wild. That's a really interesting thing too, that him at 19, that he's into 9 Inch Nails, because the big thing with 9 Inch Nails is that they don't, as far as I know, unless they have changed, they don't, at least at one time, they didn't do like streaming for their music. So you couldn't listen to their albums. So I'm like, how do people discover them now? Like, unless they're just pirating it, which probably, but like
probably
maybe YouTube or something. But
that has to be it, because I guess you can find almost anything on YouTube now, even if they're not streaming it directly. Surely somebody is, and they're still making money off of it.
Right, exactly. But so yeah, we've touched on the visuals, we've touched on the score, both of which are absolutely top notch, phenomenal. Like, I mean, to me, those two elements alone earn this movie at least a rad. Like, as far as a Criticless scale goes, at least. And that's not any other component being discussed here. Where, like I said, though, we've got a very slim cast in this movie. Not a whole lot of people, not a lot of speaking roles. It's really, actually, it was a pleasant surprise to see Nikolai Coster-Waldau from Game of Thrones in this, because he wasn't famous yet. Yeah. Jaime Lannister's in this, and he wasn't famous yet, I don't think, Game of Thrones. No, he was, I guess. He had 2 years probably. I guess when they started filming, he might have had a year on Game of Thrones.
I'll tell you this, like, I didn't even remember that he was in this, and when I was doing the rewatch, as soon as I saw him, I was like, oh my God, Jaime Lannister's in this. This is cool.
Right, exactly. And so you've got him showing up about an hour into the movie, but otherwise, for the first hour, you've pretty much got Tom Cruise, the character of Victoria, and then I think it's either this lady playing Kara or Sally. I can't remember the.
It's one of Sally. She's
Sally.
she's like a computer from that's coming from supposedly that's coming from Titan, and keeping them or telling them exactly what they need to do and help monitoring everything. Well, were they coming from the Tet initially? Because I'm trying to remember, did Tom Cruise and them think that the Tet was their creation? I can't remember that.
Yeah, I think so. I think that they had convinced him that it was Earth's creation, but it was really
so then Sally was supposedly broadcasting from that.
Yes, but
and
really
then that
what
was
going
to take them to Titan.
Exactly. Yeah. So that stuff was, I guess, the alien threat that came.
Right.
and it was not created by the humans. Which, big spoilers, that's like last 15 minutes, but you know, we've already said that.
Oh,
so
yeah, that was one hell of a twist. I know we'll get to that in a little bit, but that was one hell of a twist.
Absolutely. And so, you know, but I thought, you know, Tom, I thought did a great job. He does what Tom Cruise does. He's appealing and easy to watch. What do you think about him in this?
Yeah, you know, I thought he was pretty good. I was actually talking with Derek, one of the co-hosts over on Dad's Turn to Talk, and and I had mentioned to him that I thought Tom Cruise was fantastic in this movie. Tom Cruise, even in some of his movies that aren't too good, he's usually still pretty good in them. It's just they're just not good movies. It's usually not him that's the issue. He usually delivers in most of his roles. I don't really have a problem with his acting or anything like that. I think he usually hits it out of the park. And I thought in this one he was pretty good.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely agree there. And then we had Victoria as the other lead. Now, I will say they need to keep her hair red because the red hair, she was a baddie in this movie. Like, it looks great, but it's clear that she tinkers with a lot of different looks here and can look drastically different.
She was cool, though. I really liked her character because she's a little different than Tom Cruise because he's wanting to go explore the Earth more and whatnot. And she has no idea what's going on either. And yet he's just like, oh, no. We need to go to Titan. We're almost done here. She was completely different from him. And so I liked that contrast between the two.
Yes. And she was, you know, by the books, wanting to stick to the rules, not wanting to break protocol, all this stuff. But now, as you find out later in the film as to who she is and or was, some of this behavior actually makes a bit more sense.
Yes.
Which we can get to in a bit. But I thought she did a good job. I liked how they handled her character. And then, you know, the others had kind of smaller roles and weren't in but, you know, about half of the film. But I thought, you know, Morgan Freeman kills it always. The dude is not bad in anything. He's not capable of it. And JJ Havenstein said, wasn't she the redhead in Birdman? And yes, she was the redhead in Birdman. So, which I haven't seen that in ages. I barely remember that movie, honestly.
Yeah, same here. I barely remember it.
It's been ages. And then who we find out is Tom Cruise's wife in this as well. Thought she did a great job as well. Really appealing, easy to watch, like did a really good job.
And you know there's something going on because obviously Tom Cruise keeps having these dreams about her, and then she shows up there. But you know there's a lot more going on to it. And I thought it was really cool that scene where she's sitting there and they're at that dinner table and they're trying to figure out where she's from and everything. And she sees Victoria and Tom Cruise holding hands, and she just kind of starts laughing because she realizes, oh yeah, this isn't right.
She's like, of course, course, this bitch has always had a thing for my husband.
You know what? It makes me wonder if there was a little bit of that on the ship, and we can get there, of course, later because there's some hints that she was kind of sweet on Tom Cruise to begin with, or her character, the actual person that she was supposed to be. So yeah, because there's like that awkward moment where they take that picture.
Yes, there is, and I think that was the real tell of like, oh, this chick has always been obsessed with him.
Yes.
Of course, they pick her as the match because they need somebody to keep Tom Cruise compliant.
Yes.
And she's going to put it to him, you know what I'm saying, and keep him in line because they are a functional team.
They are an effective team.
Effective team. That's it. Exactly.
I love it because Sally keeps asking, are you still an effective team?
Yeah, exactly. Yep, exactly. And they were. And so, yeah, I guess we've alluded to it multiple times, but really the hook here is that, and that's where we kind of really get into the story elements is we've got all this time, this hour, where basically you're learning about this world. You're learning that Tom Cruise fixes the drones, which are kind of featured in this picture here in the background, which are really neat. And he's flying around in his ship here, which he goes around and monitors these drones. And then you find out that Tom versus his partner he is very much not about the rules, and he's finding out that there's beauty in the world and that things are starting to grow and that there's life out there, that he's finding books and he is reading, and he actually has a private little cabana out in a little oasis where he goes off grid, which was also, I loved all that stuff. And, he's very American, he's putting on his plaid shirt, he's shooting hoops. He's like, there's a part of me that remembers this. He's got the Yankees cap, exactly. And I loved all that stuff. And so that first hour is introducing you to all this. And the movie for that first hour, there's not a ton of conflict. It's just a vibe, man. This movie's a freaking vibe. And it's a good one. Like, it's just mixed with this score and all the visuals, you're just like, shit, this is cool. Like, this is a really cool thing. And I really dug that. And then the movie kind of makes a pivot in the back hour, and they're like, okay, but like, here's now we did get one excellent action scene, which we haven't gotten into the action. I think the action in this film is phenomenal. We get our first action scene where Tom is going to figure out some things that have gone wrong, finding some missing orbs, some drones, and he gets captured by the scabs, or almost does. And that scene I thought was absolutely badass. It's just a really cool moment. And that's the first real taste of that we got. And so, but yeah, then we get more of that going on later in the film when things really crank up and you find out that Tom Cruise is, that there's more going on in the world. But when he meets Morgan Freeman, but the interesting thing here, and I think it was a very cool move for the film, is they still don't tell you really anything. You just find out that the world isn't what you think it is, and that's it.
Morgan Freeman tells him, look, you need to go over to this radiation zone, the stuff where it's off limits. If you go over there, you're gonna get the truth. And it's only because their ship gets damaged that they end up over there to begin with. It wasn't like he went over there looking. He even says, as they're trying to get away from the drones, that, okay, yeah, I'm not going over there, and of course they get damaged to where they end up crashing over there, and that's when the truth gets revealed.
Exactly, and the truth is, for me, I had totally forgotten that was the case, and was like, holy shit, which is that Tom Cruise is a freaking clone. Yeah,
it is, and the way he notices it. Because at first he's just kind of looking at a distance and he doesn't really realize what's going on. He's just like, oh, somebody else is here repairing a drone. What the heck's going on?
Right.
And when he goes up on him, you end up with the two Tom Cruises face to face, pointing their weapons at each other. And yeah, it's a pretty intense scene. And each one of them has a different number. The ship has a different number as well as their uniform.
Yes, yeah, which is cool, and also even the color, like that was, I guess, like a yellow zone. So like that guy's suit was like all embroidered in yellow. He's blue, and so there's clearly, like, there are zones all over the planet, and there are apparently Tom Cruises everywhere, doing the exact same job, but kind of sectioned away from one another to where no one knows what's going on, and that is a pretty fascinating concept in itself. And you still don't fully know what's going on. But then he goes back to Morgan Freeman and he's like, hey, so went to the other side and saw some shit.
Yeah, and like you mentioned, like how cool the concept is. What was it? Morgan Freeman in the movie mentions about how when the aliens first arrived and that there were, thousands of Tom Cruises, and that they were, that they took the best and one of their best and brightest and used them against the humans. But he says now at this point, they're just fixing the drones and it's just kind of maintenance. And it's interesting because by them keeping all the different Tom Cruises oblivious to each other, they're able to keep them in line and just keep doing the work and everything. So yeah, it's a really, really cool concept.
It is. And interestingly enough, here's a fun fact about this film that I'm guessing most of the people in the chat and you probably don't know, is that this is actually based off of a graphic novel that was never released.
Written by Joseph Kosinski.
Right. Yeah. But it just never came out. And so that's a really interesting thing that I didn't know until I kind of started digging into some of this. And I was like, what? So, yeah, it really cool. But the fact that it never came out, and I guess it probably never came out because the movie didn't do as well. But it would have been cool to just go ahead and release it after the movie was out, honestly. And I'm kind of surprised that they didn't. Or at least as far as I know, it would never came out. I know initially, at least up to when the movie was made, it had not come out.
What did it do at the box office?
That is a great question.
I'm just curious. Let me look it up real quick.
Yeah. So I had meant to pull up a bunch of that as well because I had pulled up some of the Rotten Tomatoes stuff. I'm also curious as well.
286 million worldwide, but domestically it only did 89 million.
So at 89 million, and you said what?
Worldwide, it was 286 million. So yeah, I mean, I guess it did okay. I'm not sure
it did okay until
on this.
The budget was 120. Okay. So this was a fairly pricey film for the time.
Right.
And now, obviously, we see where the budget went. And unlike many other movies, the thing here is that you can actually see the budget. Like it makes sense why there's a budget on this that's higher. But still, that's the thing is you've got a scenario where you've got a 120 budget and then they marketed it and you've got that cost there. And so typically they could about double it. So you're looking at 240. So really the profit on this wasn't great. And I'm sure that the critical reception, I tend to think, especially at this time, I personally believe that many films were very affected by the likes of Rotten Tomatoes in how the box office did, because they were more trusted and people would see those scores and just be like, I'm not watching that. It sounds like trash. Like, even if it's just a 50-something%, because that's the problem with Rotten Tomatoes is a 50-something%, unlike Criticless where it says decent on the screen, and you've got that decent rating, is that when you see a splat, you're like, well, I guess this is trash, even if it says 50-something%.
Yeah, doesn't the splat start as soon as you get under 60?
Yeah,
something like that?
Yeah. Like, what kind of shit is that? Like, that's ridiculous.
I mean, I've never known an average thing to be a bad thing. I mean, it's average,
right?
Right.
That's why their scales have just never made sense for me, especially with them being thumbs up or thumbs down kind of a system. When that is the case, it's like, what are you doing? Where if it's a 50-something%, that just means you have a 50-50 chance of liking it.
Right.
So on their platform. So that even in itself is an odd thing. We only have one low review in Criticless for this, which is a 39%. Viewmaster, disagree. I wanted to openly dislike your review on here, so you're welcome. But yeah, so anyways, we you guys in the chat, many of y'all have dropped your reviews for this. I definitely wanted to give y'all some likes. So Chelsea M watched it, said it had been a while since she saw it and had forgotten about it. And I think that's the thing. For whatever reason, it sounds like we're all in the same boat, where it's like I think just the type of plot this is, I don't know what it is about it. It's easy to kind of forget, but it's nice because it really rewards on the rewatch. You're like, oh, this is wild.
And you talked earlier about how this was like almost two different movies because of the way it starts and you got the plot and then it kind of pivots. Like if the movie had all been just like what we saw in that first half, I still would have given this a rad score.
Right.
But this is easily a most excellent for me, just simply because that second half and that twist.
Yes.
I mean, that's good.
It makes it. And there's some scenes in that latter half. I was watching, I was like, this feels like it could be out of a freaking Star Wars movie. Like where he's canyon racing with his ship and getting
That's
chased.
An awesome scene.
It's so good.
And just like,
you're good.
Like the way that they handled that and the way that it's shot, like I mentioned how with Kaczynski, I felt like I was in the driver's seat in F1. I felt like I was in the cockpit on this thing.
Right.
And I was sitting there just watching it on my television, here on this rewatch. If I had seen this in the theater,
dude,
good Lord.
It would have blown my freaking mind. Now, so you said on critical scale, where do you think when you drop your review, where do you think it's going to be?
For me, I'd probably give this an 80%.
Okay. So right there on the cusp. Yep. And I think I'm sitting at probably like an 83. So we're not far off. That's about when I drop my review, where I put it. And just really quickly, I guess which it sounds like everybody has in the chat pretty much have seen this, but with this, as far as like, that's the interesting thing here where there's only one scene in this film that kind of pushes it. Cause I was going to go and look, this is PG-13. There's a semi-nudity scene that teases at like, it's a prelude to some sex time. But you get that wonderful shot.
Yeah, where Victoria's really twisting Tom Cruise's arm there,
Yeah. And that awesome freaking swimming pool above the sky. One of the coolest, that shot, that scene, all that stuff. There's so many scenes in this where I'm just like, damn, that is freaking cool.
Yeah, I don't know what makes that scene look so great. If it's Victoria swimming or if it's just the visual itself. Because like you said, the whole platform and the whole little apartment where they're living in their home, it's all up in the sky at that point. This outdoor pool that's all above where when you're swimming underneath, you can see the sky and everything like that. That looks awesome.
Right. Yeah, and as the chat pointed out as well, I think it was Life on Marshmallows, that there are 3 more reviews, so I needed to update my screen. I pulled a Jay. He does that a bunch on Monday Hangover, and we missed reviews. So we're up to 30 reviews. You guys really showed up and reviewed this over the past couple days. Much appreciated. Y'all brought it up to an 83%, which is great. At one point in time, it was a rad not long ago, and I think mine and your scores will, at the very least, either keep it the same or potentially bring it up. And I said 83, and there's like a part of me that's like, honestly, I think it might be higher, because I'm kind of like, where are the complaints? Like, I don't, like, when I'm trying to think about my complaints of this, I don't have that many. And so I'm kind of, which also though, and you might be like me with my point slider, I kind of let my heart just guide me. I just run that little slider and I'm like, where does that feels too low, too high, just right, Yeah, no,
like for me, where I kind of settled on the 80% is because I think that second half is like a 90%. I really enjoyed that second half. And I think that first half is probably like a 7.5 or a 7, so that's why I kind of settled on like on an 8, because I think that second half is so good that it just lifts what's already a visually stunning film and it's a good film, that first half, but it becomes an excellent film when we hit that second half and we get all those twists. Like, I love the scene where he's flying towards the Tet and he's got the voice recorder from the ship and he's listening to it and it's rehashing what happened. I think that is a really, really cool scene. And you see exactly the way everything broke down. You find out exactly who Tom Cruise was, exactly who Victoria was, and why those two were chosen. And it just, that to me, that whole second half of the film is awesome. The scene where the drone gets into the Scav base and is just like wiping everybody out. That is, from an action standpoint, that is an awesome scene.
It's so good. And those people get straight dusted.
I mean, they're just like flakes, just floating as soon as they get blasted.
It's like the freaking Snap in Marvel. Like, these people get snapped out of existence when they get shot with the freaking guns on that thing.
Yeah, there's just dust and flakes floating as soon as they get blasted.
Yeah, it's just kind of one of those of like, and they're just gone. They quit existing, and you're just like, holy shit! Like, which is so cool the way that they did that. Honestly, though, rather humane way to go. I mean, if you're gonna wipe me out, at least it's not painful. Just dust me out of existence. Like,
literally, it's like, you're gone.
Yeah. 1 minute there, 1 minute not there. But yeah, that whole scene was really cool. And so Life on Marshmallows pointed out another thing here where it's like it's just as much a romance as it is a sci-fi. And that isn't his point. And that's one of the things that I think a lot of us have started kind of missing from modern Hollywood is that they've kind of removed a lot of the romance angle, or they give you the love interest as like some absolute toad that nobody wants to look at or is not appealing at all. Or there's just not that angle in a film at all anymore. And this is a good example of how you balance that, where there's just enough of it there, but it's not a romance film by any means.
Speaking of the romance, what did you think of the ending of it? Because obviously we see Tom Cruise sacrifice himself along with Morgan Freeman to take down the aliens and everything. But then at the end, it's supposed to be what, like 3 years later or whatever.
Yeah.
And they show up with the other Tom Cruise, the number 52, showing up. And I guess somehow they were able to bring the Jack Harper version of him back out because he obviously recognizes his wife and everything. But what'd you think of that ending?
It works for me. I didn't mind it. I was curious because it is kind of, there's obviously some low-hanging fruit for jokes in that where you're just like, she might have it made. There's jacks everywhere. She can, she can have a hell of a time. But, so you wonder where they're going to take that. But that worked. Now, obviously, there's more than just that other Jack as well, out there.
Yeah,
elsewhere.
what happens if their memories start coming back and they start showing up?
Right. And they're like, my wife is back. All right. Things could get a little wild. But yeah, it's, I didn't mind it. It's an interesting thing where they could have done it or not. This is one of those movies where there could easily be 4 different versions of an ending. So, what did you think of it?
Yeah, that I think, like on the ending, that was the only part of the second half that I don't want to say I disliked it, but where I was just kind of like, that's kind of weird that they just bring the next one in. It's like, So I thought that was kind of weird. Also, I'm assuming that she was already pregnant before, like maybe on the ship or like whatnot, because you never actually see them canoodling, let's say.
Right. Exactly. That does. I wondered the same thing. And I'm like, I'm guessing maybe there was a sex scene that we didn't get, Yeah.
I mean, it could have been cut out or like the way I thought it is that she was maybe already pregnant when they went on the space mission.
Right. And there's no way to know how that would work. It's like with her being in that cryogenic pod or whatever it is, like how does all that work? You got to assume one or the other. There's either a scene that we were never shown and we're just supposed to it's implied, or that she was pregnant beforehand. One or the other definitely happened. And I will say, I have this pulled up and we haven't talked about it, but some of these scenes, I love how there's this aspect of like the ground has actually risen above where the buildings are. And, it even plays into a little bit of this real world conspiracy stuff, where if you've ever heard anybody talk about the mud flood, that's real deep in the conspiracy weeds. I don't know if you've ever heard about this.
No.
But essentially, there's a huge conspiracy theory that basically humanity and civilization has actually reached the point where we're at and or beyond before. And there was a massive flood, which they call the mud flood, which basically buried and covered up all of civilization, humanity, and that there are actually a lot of buildings and things under the ground where we are currently now. Is this conspiracy theory. And if you look at a lot of the older buildings, like in places like, especially in areas in the UK and these older cities, you'll see how a lot of buildings are actually, where if it's like the buildings like this, you'll see windows down here on the ground where the building like stops, and it looks like there's much more building below what's exposed. And so it's an interesting thing. It's a theory that a lot of people have come to. And so I like that aspect in this movie because it kind of plays into that conspiracy of like what would happen, like if the dirt and everything just kind of started building up on top of, our current society, or what the world was at the time. I just thought all of that was really cool. But yeah, and we got more of you guys in the chat here who dropped reviews. We got Wasp69, gave it a 90%, says it's a fantastic sci-fi with a stellar cast and stunning visuals. Those visuals are the big thing that I think we will definitely see repeat a lot.
It's kind of hard not to repeat it because it's just, I mean, it's the first thing that catches your eye. I kind of felt that way when I watched the first Dune, and I saw that one in theaters. And when I went to go see that, I was like 10 minutes into the movie, and I looked over at my son, my oldest son at the time, and he had just turned 18. And I looked over at him, and he just looks at me, and it just, both of us were just kind of like, okay, this looks really, really good. So, yeah, I mean, there's certain films that you just can't help, but you're going to mention that. I mean, it's just right out there.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I'll mention the exact same thing in my review. So, and actually, Chelsea has said in the chat, apparently there was a bit of an implied sex scene when they were in the cabin, and I didn't think about that. And because they did spend at least a night together, so
The only
Tom
reason
is
why I
batting
wasn't
100.
The only reason I wasn't sure about that is because he tells her afterwards, he's like, "Look, I know I'm not him," and so I wasn't
Right.
sure if they had actually canoodled
Yeah.
or not,
Right,
because I wasn't sure how Tom Cruise was feeling about that when he realized, "I'm not really your husband.
Right.
I got all his memories and everything." But I thought it was cool the way she kind of explained it to him, saying, "No, you know, basically telling him you are him because all these memories are yours.
Right,
This is
right.
you." So
Right, it's just
I thought that was
a
really
different
cool.
physical body, and I like that
Yeah.
too because there are many movies that would lean into that also, as far as like a point of conflict and making them not, it was like a couple of minutes where she was like, "Get your hands off of me," when she was like hurt, but it was like not long. Where it's like sometimes those plot points can kind of get tiring, where you're just like, "Oh, they're gonna fight, not gonna like each other, and he's a clone," whatever. And they didn't dig into that, which I was like, this movie just kind of gets to the point. Like it just keeps trucking along, and I appreciated that actually.
Yeah.
But we got JJ Havenstance dropped his as well, and is in the chat and was talking about how it's a lot of simple concepts to the sci-fi plot, but the small cast and performances, and these subtle moments is kind of really what stood out. And I like how he pointed out too how it's like the world is sparse, which is such an interesting thing. But all of the tech was so interesting to look at in this very sparse world. I think that that's a lot of what makes it pop, is you have this really interesting tech that you've never seen before mixed with these very subtle, simple environments.
Yeah. He mentions that there was a lot of simplicity to a lot of it. And and that works though. It works really well for this film because the other things just elevate it so much more that you can have a nice simple story and like all these simple sci-fi elements, and it just works really well.
Yep. No, I absolutely agree. And we got Jake Blue Blaze also in the chat, said entertaining as hell. Absolutely agree. Gave it an 84%, so we really dug it. And sounds like you're right around the area where we are. Chelsea M also gave it a 90% and was talking about how it had been a while since she'd seen it, but just and had kind of forgotten some of it like we had, but really found it enjoyable and liked it a lot. We've got My Dixie, who he says it's an okay dramatic love story mystery sci-fi movie. So, but that is a mouthful, and also right there with it. And basically this is another one too that, and he kind of pointed out as far as his review and spoilers and things, that this is a hard one where if you want to talk about it, there are very big spoilers to be had with this film. This is one of those where if you get one or two of the spoilers, it could really screw up a good bit of the movie.
Yeah.
Because you're just waiting.
Part of the entertainment of this, or what makes this so special, is watching that story unfold. If you find out any of this stuff before and then watch it, you're not going to have the same experience as if when I saw it the first time, I had no idea what was going on, because if I remember correctly, I didn't really see a whole lot of trailers for this or anything like that. Because like I said, I saw this after I saw The Edge of Tomorrow. And I remember thinking, oh, okay, another Tom Cruise movie, sci-fi, let me check it out. And when I saw the two Tom Cruises and you get that twist revealed, it blew me away. I remember enjoying this movie because, it was cool to see it unfold like that. If you get the spoilers beforehand, it does ruin it.
It does. And we had Nerdy Ronin popping into the chat. And I will tell you, buddy, we are full on into spoilers. If you are adding this to the list, definitely don't get things spoiled. And I would say bail out, but glad to have you in here. And everybody, Nerdy Ronin has a YouTube channel. Definitely go sub to it. He's a really cool dude and a friend of the show, Criticless user, posts his videos and stuff on there. So follow him in Criticless as well. Really good dude. It'd be fun to have him on here one of these days too. So we've got... Scivola, who gave it a 76 as well, and says it's a pure sci-fi film, which it really, really is. This is sci-fi through and through. But the interesting thing about this is there are some people that aren't as crazy about like hardcore sci-fi. That's the cool thing, is that this is very much a sci-fi film, but at the same time, it is approachable for people who aren't hardcore sci-fi fans, which I think is a cool thing.
Well, several people have pointed out how it's a love story. So
Right.
A lot of people can relate to that particular story, even if they don't relate to the sci-fi aspect of it.
Yep, absolutely agree. And Wasp, take it easy. Glad you were in here in the chat with us, and good to have you in here. But we also got Shorty Short dropped an 80% as well, and Normie gave it a 90%. And was talking about how he's unapologetically a Tom Cruise fan, and I feel you. You know, it's funny. The more and more time goes by, the more I appreciate Tom, and he is literally one of the last men standing as far as real movie stars, because we don't have many anymore. And he's managed to stay off the radar. He's managed to not become politically divisive, which I guess that this guy knows what career offing himself can look like after the couch incident. And so I think he's been very careful since then, and it was a smart move. So yeah, and he brings up Edge of Tomorrow in this as well. And if anybody in the chat has not seen Edge of Tomorrow, absolutely watch it. I don't know if that's one we'll ever hit on this show, but it's a film that is so freaking cool. And then all the other reviews are before now, but fairly recent as well. We've just got nothing but Most Excellence and Rads. Like I said, there is literally only one bad review in here, which is honestly really, really impressive. And I think for, part of the reason we are discussing this, which is that it is critic hated, that's really telling for me.
Yeah, they got it sitting over on Rotten Tomatoes at 53%. That's freaking ludicrous. 53%, my ass.
Right.
This is good. A really good movie. I mean, these are the same critics that gave The Last Jedi, what was it, like a 91% or something like that? Yeah. So I'm sorry. Yeah, I don't
can't be trusted. No, you can't be trusted. And I'm curious what the critics' consensus is. Yeah. Visually is striking, but thinly script. Oblivion benefits greatly from its strong production values and an excellent performance by Tom Cruise. So basically what they're pointing out is the vast majority of the people in here are complaining about the script. And that is the thing, too, where we don't even really have a lot of negative reviews to base anything off of. But first off, poor editing. What? No. I mean, the movie is brisk. It moves along well. It's 2 hours long. Doesn't overstay its welcome. It's a tight film. Editing? What? Yeah. And
you mentioned this earlier, that I wonder what a lot of these people would say now, watching it now, as opposed to then, because there's been so much garbage that's come out of Hollywood. I mean, like just earlier this year, you had a movie, that dealt with cloning with Mickey 17. That was a piece of shit. That movie. That was awful. It was a cool concept, but I just thought it was terrible. And then you look at something like this, Oblivion. I mean, this is leaps and bounds above that.
Yes, and Nerdy Ronin, you're asking if you should buy it in 4K. If anybody used 8K, I'd say to buy this movie in freaking 8K. Like, this movie is stunning. Absolutely buy it in 4K. And I would not. This would not be one I would be proud to have this in my collection for sure.
I just mentioned 4K. Mickey 17. So on Rotten Tomatoes, that's sitting there with a 77% on Rotten Tomatoes. Bullshit.
That movie is a pile of dog shit. I hate it.
It's awful.
As the youth say, it is dog water. Mickey 17 is so bad. And that is one of the many things, too, where it's like, is it spelled? How do they spell Mickey for that movie? Is it spelled weird?
It's just Mickey.
Okay, so like Mickey Mouse. I wasn't sure if they used creative spelling for that movie and of course I'm not going to. Oh, there it is. Okay, so yeah, on Criticless, a 40%.
See, that I believe, because it was shit.
Dude, it sucks. It freaking sucks. And yeah, a 77 and a 73. So, okay, if this doesn't tell you the difference between, and I give it a 19%, I hate it so much. But if that doesn't show you the difference, and this is by 71 people on Criticless, which is pretty decent for especially where we were with Criticless at the time when this came out, and we've grown a bunch recently. But at a 40% versus a 77 and 73, which is why I point out all the time that everybody needs to also remember that the audience score on Rotten Tomatoes is also a very specific type of person.
What did you say you gave it? You said a 10%?
Yes, I gave it a 19%. 19%.
Oh, 19. I even got it
Yes.
lower than you. I gave it a 15.
Right. Yeah. Are you in my FWBs? You should be.
Should
Yeah,
be.
you are. Okay. Yeah, you gave it
I
a 15%.
gave it a 15%. I thought it was absolute trash.
Yes, it's terrible. And it's like, I don't care that it looks kind of good. It's horrendous. And then you compare it to something like what we just watched with Oblivion, and somehow we've got 77 and 73 versus a 50, whatever it was, a 53 and a 61. Like this.
Bullshit. That's
This
bullshit.
site is shit. These reviews are shit. These scores, all of it. It just really aggravates me, and it's just so far from accurate. And it's why every day I'm glad that I made Criticless, and we can use us as a reference instead of sites like that, because 9 times out of 10, when I see our reviews and our scores, it lines up and it makes sense. And I'm like, that works. Like even the score with Superman or Fantastic Four, these recent movies, I see it and I'm like, that makes sense. I get why that's what it is.
Yeah, because like with Superman, there was a lot of discord regarding that film. Like like you and I have talked about this. You enjoyed it a lot more than I did. I gave it. I think I gave it a 45%. I was real disappointed in Superman, and it's not because there weren't things to like about it. I actually thought there were a lot of good things to like about it. The problem was I just didn't like the script, and I didn't like the James Gunn humor for Superman. I actually liked it with stuff that was going on around him, like with the Justice Gang and stuff. I just didn't like it for him personally.
Well, and so that's the wild thing, and that's the point I made with many people.
The other thing I didn't like was what they did with his parents. Both sets of parents. I didn't like what they did with the Earth parents either. But
yeah, now those grew on me a tiny bit more. And I will say, I don't know if you've seen Superman a second time, but for me, my opinion, my score raised at least 20% after the second viewing.
So many people have mentioned that to me, that they liked it more a second time. So I do need to watch it again. It's just I haven't had a chance because I did go see Fantastic Four. I saw The Naked Gun.
Same.
Next week I'm going to see Nobody. So there's just been other things that I've seen. So I haven't been able to get back out a second time yet.
No, I don't blame you. And it's one of those things. I think it will. We've had a lot of people in the app where they're like, reposted my review. It's way higher now. And so it happened with me too. I saw it with the wife and kids. They all really liked it a lot. So it does benefit from repeat viewings, but I also understand all of the beefs with it completely. So it's kind of, but yeah, so and it was funny. Caveat Ties gave me crap for not having him as an FWB. I just publicly added you as an FWB. You're welcome. But if you hurt my friends with benefits scores regularly, you're getting the boot. And everybody in here who has not set good friends with benefits, definitely do that, because it really does help you to gauge where your opinion will lie. I have a lot of success with how accurate I've gotten my friends with benefits. Odin had to get kicked because he was killing my scores for my friends with benefits because of his horrendous opinions. He said
he was hating on several of the films that I was like, this wasn't too bad.
Bro, Odin is brutal. He is brutal. That guy is a freaking battle axe of a reviewer. Just he will take things out. So no, you're okay. Caveat. I actually don't. Well, it's one of those things where I set like my tight FWBs a while back, and then I forget to add certain people in, and I have to remember to do it. So and JJ says to have Bob back again. So there you go, Bob. You've gotten the approval.
Well, awesome, huh? No, like I need to start adding more friends with benefits there, because I've got you on there, and and I trust most of your stuff except Venom 3, but most of the stuff, I've been pretty good with. Actually, most of the stuff that you've had, I've aligned with pretty close.
Right. I'll have these outliers like recently with The Naked Gun, where everybody was like, "What are you doing?" Or like with.
But you didn't like Venom. Airplane. This wasn't going to win you over.
No, it was never going to. There was no freaking way. It's just I've realized that kind of comedy is just not my bag. I just don't like it, and I can't. As much as I try to make myself like that style of comedy, I just don't. It's unfortunate. I kind of hate it because I'm like, I wish I found this funnier. But
we actually mentioned you on Dad started to talk last night, because we reviewed The Naked Gun, and I had mentioned that you had a really low score for it. Josh was like, what? And I was like, well, remember, he said you didn't like Airplane. This wasn't going to win him over.
Yeah. It's one of those things. I never got into that style of comedy, and I think I missed it a little bit, just even with my age. Like, and it's why I joked in my review calling it boomer humor, because it very much is. It's a Gen X boomer style comedy that was very prevalent during those years, and it just is. And whereas when I was in high school and stuff, like the comedy was it was stuff like Super Bad and the Kevin Smith films where it's like Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. It was the raunchy, rated R, stoner humor. It was all that stuff, and that's what I love. And I just, for whatever reason now, that's what I gravitate towards. So
that makes sense, because if you didn't like all that style of humor, there's no way The Naked Gun was going to win you over, because The Naked Gun is a callback to that stuff. I think it does a pretty good job of capturing the legacy and the spirit of that. But like I said, if you didn't like it then, you're not going to like it now. And I even mentioned that in my review, that if you don't like that style of humor, you can go ahead and steer clear of it, because it's not going to win you over.
Right. Yeah, that's what I ran into. I actually did a review on the Monday Hangover channel, and it was funny because they both loved it, Jay and Mo, and they were kind of giving me crap, but Jay was kind of saying the same thing. He's like, I get it, and that's comedy is so subjective. Where something like Oblivion or something where a lot of the stuff that's on screen is like to just be absorbed, like the visuals and the music and all these things. It's like at least those elements alone earn it some level. But with a comedy, it's like, hey, you're either finding it funny or you're like, this sucks.
Yeah, exactly. Because like even like we had talked about how not everybody is down for a sci-fi, but they can appreciate the way that it looks.
Exactly. And if you have other elements, like in this with the romance element or whatever, there's other things, or if you're just an action person, if you get a movie like this that's multifaceted and has these different aspects to it, you can get into it. So I think Oblivion knocked it out of the park. As we have decided, the critics are full of shit. Rotten Tomatoes in general is, and it's the audience that needs trusted, especially, and that's what's made this show fun. As far as now that we've pivoted more towards doing these kind of critic hated films, is that there are so many of these good films that people just missed because it either didn't do well in the box office or it just got bashed by critics and they just never saw it. And so it's kind of fun to go back and dissect these and be like, what did they not like? And the crazy thing is, a lot of those critics were saying that this movie was boring. And I'm just like, what are you talking about?
Yeah,
like it doesn't track. So I don't know. And we find out a lot of the times too, it's cultural things that are happening at the time that drive a lot of these critics' opinions. And it's like, did they have an axe to grind with Tom Cruise? Did the studio that put it out, did they have an issue with it? And there's all these things that play into a lot of these mainstream critics and their opinions. And that even goes for some of the people in the YouTube sphere these days, where it's like, do they have a particular axe to grind with someone involved with this film? It might be related as far as how their score and their opinion goes on this, because they had said axe to grind. So it's
you saw a lot of that with Superman.
Yes.
There were people that were going to hate this thing right from the get-go because they were Snyder fans, or they don't like James Gunn, or whatever the case was, and it was never going to get a fair shake from them to begin with.
Yes,
I mean, that's just the way it is.
Agree. Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, it does. It really sucks. And I hope that they start to wake up to the fact that people aren't trusting a lot of these folks. Either that, or you're just going to fade into obscurity when you're in this space and you're reviewing and giving people's opinions. They're just going to stop trusting you. And unfortunately, that is happening to a chunk of YouTubers now, where it's becoming very clear when they have access to grind or whatever, they're grifting on certain things and they're losing viewers. And I hope that they start to recognize before it gets too late that, like, hey, maybe I need to be a little bit more genuine with my opinions. And it seems I've seen some shift lately with some folks. So I hope that continues. Yeah, I hope it continues because if I had $1 for every time people in Criticless were like, yeah, I quit listening to X, Y, or Z because I just stopped believing them because I wouldn't go see a movie and then I'd see it when it came out on a home release and then loved it and regretted not going to see it in theaters. And that's a real shame.
Yeah, I'm hearing a lot of that as well. And there are even people that I've watched over the years or whatnot where I still respect still respect them, or I still find their content entertaining, but I don't put as much faith into what they say as opposed to when I first started watching them, because I'm like, all right, no, I completely disagree with you on this one. And then the next one comes around. It's like, wait a minute, I completely disagree with you again. I'm detecting a pattern here.
Right. A very consistent pattern. And then quite often you can look at the types of films in that pattern and be like, okay, now I know exactly what the pattern is.
Exactly.
So, it's a bummer. I hope that people start to pivot on that a little bit. But any last thoughts on Oblivion or anything else that we didn't cover? We dug into this thing pretty deep.
This movie was awesome. Again, you can't say enough about the visuals on this thing. The score is fantastic. And maybe this is because this was a graphic novel that he wrote, but Kaczynski really put his heart and his effort behind this. Like you said, he's very meticulous with this. And it's very obvious this was something that he loved. And it was very well executed, very well done. Loved this movie.
Awesome. Glad you liked it, dude. And me too. And it seems like everybody in the chat did, outside of one reviewer who I'm curious. I wish that he had written a review so we could kind of hash through, like, why did this not land for you? Because I'd really like to know, because I'm like, at the very least, it's kind of like I said, it's hard for me to see this anywhere below a rad, because so much of it is so well done. And if for everyone in the chat who has not seen all of Kaczynski's movies, just go ahead and watch the others, especially Tron, with the new Tron movie coming up soon. And you want to talk about a gorgeous movie. The reasons that I love this movie is because it is stunning. A lot of people don't know, but these were actual LED lights that they built into these suits. They spent millions of dollars. They had to deal with battery packs, all this crazy stuff. This movie was extraordinarily complicated to make, and just from an execution standpoint, it makes me love this movie because he put so much time and effort into it and making it look so cool. Also, Olivia Wilde is a 10 out of 10 in this movie. She is just, whew, buddy. So there's that, if you like eye candy as well. But Tron Legacy is awesome. And like we were talking about earlier, if everybody missed it, check out Spiderhead. This movie's freaking wild, and I plan on watching it very soon and dropping a review. So, yeah. But, and as JJ Happenstance said, thanks for the twofer, brother. Really appreciate it. He said the editing alone is worth a rad, and cheers. So, yeah. Cheers, brother. Glad you came and dropped your review and hung out. And I'm glad that everybody got to hang with Bob a little bit and know the man behind the reviews now. So, we will absolutely have to have you in here for more. I want to do more shows like this. So, and we've even
anytime,
talked about,
man. Anytime. I had a blast.
Awesome. That's really good to hear, man. And we will have you back. And we've talked about doing more shows in this format and me bringing in some of the other personalities I know, and possibly even incorporating the normal heathens that are on this show, some with it, and letting them get a bigger taste of the YouTubes and how all of that is. But yeah, so dude, I think that's it. We're going to wrap it up. But what we do before we leave, I mentioned to you before you came on, is that we do what's called send-off songs. I still need to create a bumper for it, but we do send-off songs where we send everybody who's listening off with a song for the week, I guess you could say, and what you've been listening to or something that they need to check out. So what have you been listening to?
Okay, so I'll be honest, I don't listen to a ton of music, but every now and then some stuff pops up in my YouTube feed. And recently an a cappella cover of Nothing Else Matters popped up in my voice or in my feed, and it's from Voice Play. And I was listening to that thing and it was so good. And now I'm kind of going down this little rabbit hole with other stuff that they've had. Like they've got covers of Thriller. They've got covers of some Disney songs. They've got all sorts of stuff. And then some of the individual members have other solo stuff that they've done that I've kind of gone down rabbit holes to listen to some of that stuff. So Nothing Else Matters, the acapella version done by Voice Play, I think was pretty good. I think it's worth listening to. If you like acapella groups,
nice.
I think they're really good.
Sweet. And what was their name again?
Voice Play.
Voice Play. All right. Nice. Yeah, I've never listened to much acapella stuff, so that sounds pretty interesting.
Yeah, it was pretty good. And then, like I said, several of the members, they got their own solo stuff. Like the guy who does the bass, he's done some covers on some other stuff that I was listening to that were really good, but they're all, with a low bass format. It's pretty good. Like he did a cover of Riders in the Sky. That's pretty dang good.
Oh, that's cool. Gotta love
he
this
did
song.
one of Turn the Page by Metallica. So a few others that were there, but it all started because I listened to this one by Voice Play. Again, Nothing Else Matters. Check that out. It was worth listening to.
Sick. Nice. Yeah, we'll add that to the list. We have a playlist where all these songs go on to on the Criticless Cast channel. So that video will be on there if you guys want to check it out. I'm sure me or Matt will add it in there. Also, we had some super chats here. We had Jake Stanley also asking, when are we going to do Eraserhead? That is an interesting question. Funny enough, I've never seen Eraserhead. So I would be intrigued in watching that. I don't know if it's criticated, but hey, who knows? That's one of those, I think, kind of weird cult classics. Have you ever seen Eraserhead?
No, I haven't. Oh, and just real quick, because somebody posted this in the chat, said Riders on the Storm. Actually, no, it wasn't Riders on the Storm. I even said it wrong, but it wasn't Riders on the Storm. It was Ghost Riders in the Sky. That song that Willie Nelson and Johnny Cash had done.
Yep.
So this guy who's doing the bass did a cover of that, and it's pretty cool because in the video he's got all these different ghost riders that appear in the video, but he's singing all the parts, even though the lead is the low bass.
Huh. That's cool. Yeah, those people blow my mind with what they're capable of. Also, damn it, Caveat Ties. We got a twofer from him with a freaking mouthful, and I love to make Matt do these so that I don't have to read this insanity. So his song is Trostlos Scholutset Philomel. Got that right. First try. Yeah, that's it. By Mozart from Zadie. Yeah, he gives us some crazy classical or classical adjacent songs, and they're wild. So, but this will go on the list, and it is quite the mouthful. Thanks for the twofer, brother. We really appreciate it. And so my song is by an artist named Carter Vale. This guy's been around for a while. He's one of these TikTok artists that's blown up and become famous because of putting out music on TikTok. He's very talented. And his music, interestingly enough, if you were a fan of Cake back in the day, the band Cake, it reminds me of them a good bit. Kind of that short skirt and a long jacket type of a song. Some of his music sounds like that, which is very interesting for a modern audience or modern artist, I guess you could say. But he has a new song called Stunner, and it's really good, very catchy. All of his music is very good. Carter Vale is great. This dude has been blowing up simply because of TikTok. If you've ever heard the song Dirt Man, which went super viral, it was a joke parody song about a guy named the Dirt Man who collects dirt, and you put dirt under your pillow for the Dirt Man, and he comes and collects the dirt from under your pillow. And it's really weird, and it blew up, and all the dudes loved it, and it's very funny. It's like a minute-long song. And so Carter Vale's great, and this new song's Stunner.
Yeah, I think I found it. So yeah, I'm going to have to listen to that.
Yeah, you'll have to definitely listen to Dirt Man and hear what made him famous. And then his other music is just very good, kind of chill. It almost kind of throws back to some of the stuff from like the 90s, 2000s. It's just catchy, good stuff. But anyways, guys, I think that has been it for this episode of Criticless Cast Unhinged. And we even went over with just 2 people. So I'm impressed. Thanks, Bob, so much, brother, for coming on.
My pleasure, man. Anytime.
Yeah, you answered the call, man. You showed up, and we put on a heck of a show, and I had a really fun time. So we will have you back for sure, and we will be doing it again. As far as next week, it's technically Nobody 2 is coming out, but we've been doing more of these. I will probably pick a movie like this where it's something that's been out for a while that's critic hated, and then or Nobody 2, and we'll let you guys decide what y'all want us to do. But until then, we will be back soon. Chat, thanks everybody for showing up and coming in here, and all the lurkers and the commenters. Everybody, we really appreciate it, and we will be back next week. Later, guys.